Without fail, the best parts of a conversation happens before I press record or after I press stop. Kyle and I covered a lot of ground in this one. Some of it didn't make it into the episode. We got to talking about rapid target acquisition with a pistol, and to that end, my friend Trevor at Armament Technology sent me an SAI Mini Red Dot. ATI are the Canadians behind Tangent Theta, which is as good as glass gets, and they run the SAI line of LPVOs and red dots. That optic is getting shipped off to Kyle along with a few other things. If you want in on the conversations that happen outside of the recorded podcast, that's the Outpost. Every week, free and included with Silvercore Club memberships, and they're built to sharpen you. We also talk about something new that I've been building. It's called the Outpost Arcade, and it's at play.silvercore.ca. It's absolutely free for anyone. I like puzzles and simple games. They help me reset and learn at the same time. This one runs through speed flashcards on hunting, shooting, and outdoor terminology, plus animal identification. Silvercore Club members got early access to the Outpost Arcade, and any member who's played is entered to win their own SAI Red Dot. Now, without further ado, let's get to it. Today's guest appeared on Silvercore Podcast 124 and on last year's year-end reflection. Other notable achievements include a couple of books and a stint in the Army. That stint was 21 years, 15 of them in Delta Force. He came home from Mogadishu with a Silver Star, which he has not once ever brought up with me. Welcome back to the Silvercore Podcast, Kyle Lamb.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited. This is awesome.
So am I. I've been really looking forward to this one. You know, this last year-end reflection that you just stepped right up to the plate and said, yeah, send me in. I'm good to go. There's a number of people who really shied away from that challenge, and you knocked it out of the park. And I really want to thank you for that.
Well, good. Yeah, for sure. I don't know. The first time we talked, I just hit it off with you, and there was actually some really interesting things that happened immediately after the podcast I did with you.
Really? Like
the same day.
What happened?
So you remember one of the conversations we had was, what if you had 6 months to live?
Mm-hmm.
So was that impactful to you?
Yes.
Well, that's super impactful to me, and it's changed the way that it just changed the way that I go about my daily life, because once, and if people want to know the story, they can go back and they can listen to that podcast about it. But bottom line is, my brother-in-law was given 6 months to live, and I was sitting here talking with my wife, and I said, man, what would you do if you were given 6 months to live? And she goes, well, I'm doing it right now. And I, as I told you, I wasn't. So when we did our podcast, I had some medical issues, and the day that we finished your podcast, I had to drive into town to pick up a gun or something. Like, I was by myself in my truck, and I'm driving back, and the doctor's office calls me, and it's a nurse, and she says, hey, Mr. Lamb, just want to let you know, after your appointment when you came in on Sunday, we just want to let you know you got bladder cancer. And I'm like, bladder cancer? I mean, that's no joke.
No.
Well, and I'm going to cut to the chase real quick. I don't have bladder cancer.
Okay, good. Thank you.
But what it made me do, I had just told you that I'm living as though I've got 6 months left to live. And when I got that news, it was kind of crazy, because it didn't, I was like, well, first thing I said, I said, all right, Lord, I open my big mouth, and I guess I get to back it up right here, Within a day and a half, we had found out I was good to go. I went in and gave another urine sample, and I ended up having to go and do some other doctor checkups. But bottom line was, I was good to go. Well, then, as soon as I find out I'm good to go, my wife gets an accidental finding where she's on a, sorry, let me silence my phone here just to make sure. she gets this accidental finding where they did a scan of her neck area, and it went down farther, and they said she had a lump on one of her lungs. And I'm like, now I
Mm,
will tell you this, that devastated me. And
right.
just like with me, within a week for her, she was able to get back in, and they were able to do more tests. And they're like, okay, it's small, it's translucent, you're good to go, but you got to come in every 6 months and get a scan. And she's been clean ever since then. So anyway, that's what happened after our last visit.
Man.
And it, man, it just, to me, it kind of solidified I guess what it did was it took me a step further, where I said, if I only had 6 months to live, what would I do? What if your wife only had 6 months to live?
That's a completely
That's,
different conversation.
oh my goodness, dude, it's devastating. Like I was,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. I mean, myself, I'm like, I hope I'm a little value added to my family, but my wife is all the value added to my family, to my grandkids, my kids, everybody that's around her. I mean, just awesome gal. And anyway, so that it's made me it's made both of us kind of change the way we are, not just with ourselves, but how we are together.
How did
So
that hit? Like when you first heard about yourself, like you know, I have a feeling of how it would fit me. And I've had some things where there's, like some possible forward looking issues, never bladder cancer. I think I have a feeling of how that would hit me. How did that hit you when you heard that?
well, when I heard that, the very first thing I thought of was you. And I said, I just had this conversation, and I thought of you and what I'd said on your podcast. And then I said, all right, God, let me finish. Let me do this the way that I've said I'm going to do it.
Mm,
And then that was it. I mean, it wasn't, there was no crying or gnashing of teeth or anything like that. When I got home to my wife, I told her, I said, I just got this call. Here's the deal. And she said, okay, we're gonna work through this. Let's get you scheduled so you can go back in and get to the bottom of this. And she was super solid too.
mm,
When we thought she had cancer, it was, we, neither one of us is real solid. And I
mm.
think that, man, it scared the crap out of me. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. It was a growing experience, um,
Yes.
or maybe it's a, I don't want to say thought provoking, because it wasn't thought provoking. It actually changed the way I look at life with my wife. And I think that's a positive thing. If we can, what we don't want to have happen is your wife dies, and then you've got to, then you start thinking about her. It's like, she's
Right.
alive right now. Let's think about her day to day, and be with her, and and
What a gift that is.
yeah, and it's a valuable gift. It's the most important gift I've ever been given, other than my faith.
Mm.
And it's yeah. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up. I didn't mean to
What?
sidetrack you on that,
No.
but
Hey, there.
I thought about you a bunch, because I've told people that story a whole bunch, and I've said I was on this podcast with this bro from Canada, and we had this discussion, and then this happened, and I was like, now you got to put your money where your mouth is. And thank goodness it didn't play
Right.
out the way that the nurse, and she should have never called me and told me that on the phone in the first place, but
No,
whatever.
no. I mean, you think there's a different way to do that,
Yeah.
but you know, it's interesting when you contemplate your own mortality. It's one thing to think about it, and we all know we're going there, and it's another thing for that light switch to click and everything to become real and have that time frame.
Yeah.
And then a completely other thing when it's somebody you care about and it's not you. Because for me,
Yeah.
I can compartmentalize that. I remember years ago, a fellow came in, did some training with us, and really nice guy, hit it off, and he ended up with throat cancer. I said, Trev, can you help me out? I want my son to come through and do some training, and I want him to like go skydiving and do like he's never done the army thing, and I wanted to give him the closest experience to that because I don't think he's really cut, and I'm not going to be around here much longer. Can you help with the firearms side? Because I guess he felt like these different experiences would have an indelible impression on his son, and it was he was a very well spoken individual who worked for I think it was a bank here downtown. And anyways, when he passed, he left me a Glock and a video. And this video was him talking about the process of what he was going through. And he says, there was laughter in our household the day I found out that I had throat cancer. There was laughter, and I mean, yeah, there's solemn times and the rest, but this isn't the heavy thing that, and he carried it very well, and he brought everyone along with him, those who loved him, and they were there in the video. And I feel that's how I would like to think I would respond. Now, if it's my wife, on the other hand, I haven't role played that one in the head, and I mean, that's a completely different situation.
Yeah, but I think that, what it changes is the time that you have together is valuable. Every minute of time you have together. And if it's, the first thing I do when I get up in the morning is give my wife a kiss, good morning. The last thing I do before I go to bed is give her a kiss, good night. That's just a small thing, but it's not just, I'm not just doing that. It's meant like we are, there's,
You feel it.
yeah, and I think that's, we all get busy, but we have to remember, what's really important. And it's not a lot of, it ain't money.
Sure as hell isn't, is it?
Yeah. It's not, how many big animals you killed or anything like that. It's time.
Nope.
Like, what can you give your loved ones? You can give them time. That's my wife's word, is time. That's the most important thing to her, is time, because she
like
wants
that.
time with me, time with my grandkids, time with our daughter and our son, and their families. And yeah, I don't know. I guess as we go, we mature, and maybe we think about things a little bit differently. That doesn't mean I don't want to go hunting. That doesn't mean that I don't want to, go do crazy stuff. I do a lot of fun, crazy stuff still, but there's got to be that time aspect where you're giving your loved ones enough time.
It's a quality of the time. It's sitting on the couch for a long time is a very different experience than spending quality time with loved ones over a short period of time. Really, time's the only thing. I'm with Melynda on that one. Time's the only thing that gives our life value. Really, when it comes down to it, if time was infinite, it'd be like infinite money. Where's the value in it?
Yeah.
Nims Die. Have you heard that name?
Nims Die.
The mountaineer. So this really crazy mountaineer who was Gurkha forces. He got on with the British SBS, did his time there, decided he's got to get back out in the mountains again. And they did a Netflix show about him, and he did, I think they call it 14 peaks. He did the 14 highest peaks over 8,000 feet. And he did it in 6 months and 6 days. Prior to that, it was something like 8 years it took somebody to do those 14 peaks.
Yeah.
So I've reached out to him in the past, back and forth with his media team. And it was interesting recently about, it was about the time that we were recording the last episode there that we did for the year-end reflection. And you put maybe it was on my mind. And the year-end reflection was, when everything else fades, what do you want to be remembered for? And with the media team reached out to me and said, okay, we like what we're seeing. We like what's going on here, but like, what would a podcast with you look like? And I said, really? What I want to do is I want to talk about purpose after achievement. I said, he's done those 14 peaks. He did it with oxygen. He went and did it all over again without oxygen. And then he was going for, they call it his triple crown. And a couple days ago, he died in an avalanche with, there's 10 of them on the slopes there. And it was on Broad Peak. Apparently it was a last minute decision to go and do this mountain and go up there. And, but again, gets you questioning your own mortality and what is it you're living for? Because some people, like, I wanted to have that conversation with him. Was it rinse and repeat? Was it mountain again? And okay, we've done it. Because it's easy when you're in the middle of it. What's your purpose? What are you living for? And you can point at the top of that mountain. Okay, you've done that mountain. Now what? Who are you? So I've done a little bit of thinking. I don't have the answer really for myself aside from depth of connection in a foundation of truth circumscribed by responsibility, because you can't just blindly look for depth of connection without truth.
Yeah.
And you go too far in there. I mean, you have responsibilities that should be keeping you in bound. That's the best I've been able to kind of come up with what it is that really drives me.
Yeah, and I think honestly for me it changes daily. So I have a schedule that I try to follow. So my wife and I get up between 4 and 5 in the morning, somewhere in there usually. We're early risers. She goes in the office and starts prepping stuff so that orders get out the door that day. And first thing I do every day is I let the dogs out, make my coffee, and then I try to read the Bible the first thing, and then we get going. But then from that point on, it's like, what's your mission? Like, what's the mission for that day? And I think for me, that's what's helped me is I have a buddy that says, he says that every day is a Saturday, but he also always has something that he's working on. Every day when he gets up, he has something like, this is what I'm going to do today. It's not, oh, let's get up and just see what happens. There's no just get up and see what happens for him. And for my wife, there's no get up and see what happens. She has a plan, which means I have a plan, because we try to, make that work together. And I might be like, okay, I'm going shooting tomorrow. Roger that. So we'll get up, we'll go for a walk, we'll lift weights, and then I'll load up, drive to the range, shoot long range or whatever, So
Yep.
I think every day to me, it kind of changes, just changes what that mission happens to be. And then while you're doing that, once again, give that time to your loved ones. And then if something happens and you have to throw like I come back from hunting last year, I was up in Wyoming for 10 or 12 days, killed a really good bull, come home, and she's like, I wish you wouldn't go on the next hunt to Wisconsin. Just, you've been gone a lot. Just don't go. And I'm like, Roger that. So I didn't go because I'd had a great hunt, hung out with my buddy for that amount of time. We both killed really good bulls, and that was it.
I believe in those, when someone says, oh, I kind of wish you'd stay back. Yeah, no problem. I'll stay back. It's such a simple decision to make. And I don't know, what are the wise belief in divine providence, for whatever that saying is, but just believing, the universe unfolds as it should. In a second, and I try to just apply that as I'm driving, and I don't make that light. And younger me would be like, I can make it, I'm going to take it, or I'd be fast on the next one. Well, maybe I didn't make that light because at the next one I was going to get cut off and there'd be an accident. Maybe someone's saying don't go on that trip because there's something a little bit more. Like, I don't want to read into everything, but I'll just accept it as it comes. And this is what's I found that to be a way for myself to live, anyways.
Yeah, and I don't read into it either. I just go with the flow there, and I'm a pretty, I say I'm pretty even keeled guy, but I get spun up. I get spun up just like everybody else does.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's I've been lucky enough that I've been able to do pretty much everything I've wanted to do in my life. So it shouldn't hurt my feelings to do what somebody else wants me to do a little bit, because once I do that, I enjoy it anyway. It's not like, if I go do something that I hadn't planned, I'm not going to enjoy it. You know what I mean? We had a really interesting time last year. Our son was supposed to get married, and then that fell apart. Well, they already were going to go down. Our daughter bought us a trip to Mexico for the whole family, and we were going to go down to this all-inclusive thing. And so we go down there, and my son's upset because now he's not getting married, and that was supposed to be the trip where they were going to check it out, and then they're going to go back in the later in the year and get married, actually during Valentine's Day. And it was just mayhem, total mayhem. So we come back from that, and my wife said, we actually didn't turn our tickets in for the date in February. Everybody else got their money back, but we're going to lose our money for this wedding in Mexico. And I was like, well, let's go.
You got it.
So we went right back to the exact same place where we were there with the whole family, and we had an absolute blast because it was just my wife and I. Now, we had fun with our grandkids when we were there, but they were busy because we had some other relatives that showed up, and they were doing little kid stuff. And, I kind of get pushed to the side because my wife's with my daughter, and I'm over there, just I'm not a big beach guy in the first place, but man, when I went with my wife, we just had a blast, and it was just the two of us, and we could just be on our own schedule. So you just never know, man. Stuff happens, and it's fun when you just get involved with it.
You just go with it.
Yeah,
I was in Mexico when they had that. Where was it? Vallarta, when they took over the city, and I was flying back. We were in Huatuco in Oaxaca. First time ever getting stung by a scorpion, so that was a new one on me. That was kind of a neat one. That was kind of interesting. Wake up in the middle of the night, and there was something on my chest, and I brush it off, and all of a sudden, as I'm brushing it off, I feel a zap on my chest, and then a zap on my finger as I'm trying to roll it off, and it's kind of hard. And anyways, it was just a bark scorpion, and but my wife, and I brushed it off, and it's stuck up in the netting, and my wife's like, "What is it? What is it? Don't worry," right? Because sometimes I'll yell and fight in my sleep, and it's like, no. I think it was, I don't know. I think it was a bee or something. I didn't want to get her concerned about. But that was kind of it was an interesting trip, and then knew other people in the Vallarta area that were having to swim off of boats because they're on little sightseeing things and swim to the beach because the docks were all shut down. So where in Mexico were you?
Outside of Cancun.
So it's
totally a tourist trap, but it's really nice. The food's good. We did some touring the first time we went over there, and then this time the second trip we just had a blast. We never left the compound. We just stayed there and sunbathed and did all that. Yep.
Nice. So I'm holding in my hands this book. I haven't been able to read the entire thing. I've read through in different passages as I go through, and then I'll go through and do a full sweep. But it's a pretty cool book. It's called The Next Mission. You were talking about it on the last podcast, saying that you're basically getting close to wrapping up, and now it's out. I think it was June 6th when it went out. It's a pretty freaking cool book, and it's written in a very easy, digestible way. It's got, I like the graphics in it. I think that was your son-in-law who wrote the graphics. Having pictures in the book is always helpful for me. and just the way that it's put forward. Can you tell me a bit about this book?
Well, so the way that it came about was I'd never read the Bible from cover to cover. And I was like, I need to read the Bible, like read the entire Bible. So I started reading the Bible, and one day I was telling somebody else a story about Ehud, the left-handed assassin, which there's a chapter in there about him. And at the time I hadn't really dug into it that far, but I was telling this story about this guy. He killed this guy, King Eglon, and he stuck this dagger in him, and the guy was so fat that the dagger like sucked up inside of him, and then he rolled out of there. And I mean, it's just a great story. And I'm telling it, and my wife goes, "You need to write that down." And I was like, "Write it down?" She goes, "Well, it's a great story. You should write that down." And then I was like, "Oh, okay," because I like to write. So I started writing this story down, and then I realized I didn't know how he made that dagger because I make knives, and I didn't know how to make bronze. So I started researching, like, how would a dude have made bronze back in the day? Well, then I put that in the book. I put that in the story, how he was making bronze with this much copper and this much um, um,
Tin and antimony or
nickel,
nickel.
or not,
Okay.
no, tin.
Yeah, tin.
So
Yeah.
copper and tin. And then as I got farther down, now this is like as we're going through the final throes of this book, I'm doing more and more research,
Mm.
and I was like, where'd they get the tin? And then I find out that the tin came from England. So this is like a
Huh.
crazy, and that's in the book. I put that in there.
Yeah.
We know that now because we can actually trace the tin, to where it came from in the world by looking at the structure of that tin.
Mm.
Um, so then I thought, well, is that written anywhere else in history? And it actually is. Herodotus, his histories, he talks about the tin that came from England. It wasn't England, of course, at that time.
Hmm.
This is way back when. But so that's kind of how it started. And then I started saying, okay, well, what stories do I want to tell? Obviously, I want a bunch of Old Testament stuff in there because that's where all the smiting
Fire and
took place.
brimstone.
Yeah, there's a
That's right.
lot of death and destruction in the Old Testament. So there's a lot of Old Testament stuff in here, but then there's also New Testament, and that's when there's a chapter called Ranger Buddy, and it talks about the Apostle Paul and the guys that
Mm.
traveled with him and the whippings they took, the lickings they took from the lictors, which is a guy that they called him a lictor, the guy that beat him with the sticks. And there's times he could have stopped those beatings, but he didn't
Two
because
words.
he could have said, "I'm Roman."
Yeah.
He said, "I'm Roman." They would have had to stop beating him, and he didn't. He stayed there with his buddy because his buddy couldn't do that. And
Mm.
I was like, man, that's a great story. So what I did with that one, and I'm going kind of deep into this, but the story about Paul, um, I put them in Rome, and you haven't read the story on Paul yet, have you?
Well, I did read the Bible a long time ago, and then
No,
when I
no, I
say
mean in
read,
the in
but
in
but
this
but not
book.
in your book. No, not in
Okay,
yours.
so towards the end of the book, there's the ranger story there. So it's called Ranger Buddy, and he's sitting at a table. It starts out he's sitting at a table, and he's chained to a Roman soldier because that's how he lived when he was in Rome. At least the first
Hmm.
time. The second time, we believe he was executed in his second trip to Rome there. Um, but I wrote that, like, what would a dude like Paul, who's traveled and done all this stuff, like, what would he say to that soldier? And I made him have that conversation, and it
Hmm.
and it wasn't it wasn't a conversation of disrespect either way,
Hmm.
because Paul right away started talking to him about, oh, so where'd you serve? And then they find out that, not only did he serve with Corbulo was a famous general who Nero told him to kill himself to prove that he was true to Nero, so he had to commit
Sure.
suicide, which was just completely ridiculous because he was a great
Right.
commander. But this guy, I made him the I forget how I put it in there, but it was a cousin of the guy that traveled with Paul on that trip on the ship where they had the shipwreck and he got bit by a viper and all this stuff,
Hmm.
and also that guy converted to Christianity. So it was fun to put, like, they they were having this conversation, a soldier in the Roman army and a soldier in God's army, and they're having this conversation, and other people are trying to, like, hey, we got to finish this book today, and he's like, hey, I'm talking to this soldier, just
Mm.
relax, man. And then he looks at him and says, put on the armor of God, and he uses that soldier to pick those verses that he wrote in the Bible. And did this ever happen? I believe something like that did happen because he was in Rome when he wrote that book, and he would have
Mm.
been looking at Roman soldiers. It's just like, are you familiar with
People are people.
Josephus? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Josephus. When Flavius Josephus, who was a Jewish historian, he was looking at Romans, and he was in Jerusalem, and he said their drills were like bloodless battles, and their battles like bloody drills. And
Yeah.
when you hear
It's
that
the
as a
same thing that you
soldier,
say now.
yeah, well,
Train hard,
it's
fight
and
easy.
yeah,
Train easy,
so
fight hard, and
so
die.
Right. So that tells me that he literally was watching them train and then watching them fight, and they were doing it the way we should be doing it, not the way
Mm.
that some folks do it. And I believe that, anyway, so that's how that came about. So as I wrote it, then I also wanted to put kind of my 2 cents at the end of every chapter. So there's a lesson learned, and then there's a battlefield reflection.
Mm.
We just finished recording the audiobook. It'll be out in another month or so. I read part of the book. I read the parts that didn't need accents and women's voices and stuff like that. We had
Sure.
another guy, uh, Zach Hoffman, who's kind of a funny dude because he's a bodybuilder, but he does voice stuff and he does acting. And he's just as big as a house, just jacked
Yeah.
dude. And he read the book, and he did. When I was in the studio, they were giving me sections of the book that he was reading, and then I would follow it up and I would start reading, when his
Hmm.
section ended there. Man, it was just, it was awesome. He did a
He's a pretty
really
talented
good
guy,
job.
huh?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, super talented. We had several guys that we chose from, and everybody that listened to it, everybody chose him. So it was kind of a no-brainer. The other thing that we did on this book, it's Kyle and Melynda Lamb. It's both
I
of us
saw
on there.
that.
Um, that was my decision. She didn't particularly care for that, but I was like, she had so much to do with this book and making me better understand. Like if you say, we're going to go fight and God was with us. Well, that's not the
Right.
right to say that. You shouldn't say God was with us. You should say we were with God.
Ah.
So just a little twist on those words makes it correct. Because
Uh-huh.
it's not, we're on God's mission. We're not on our mission. We're on God's mission. So if that makes sense. And once I started looking at things differently like that, from that different perspective, um, I don't know. It's just in writing fiction. I wrote another fiction book that hasn't been released yet, and I don't know if it ever will be because my wife said it's got too much killing in it. But
Okay.
there's a lot of killing in this book as well. But yeah. Anyway, that's how that came about, and then I asked a few guys to write little pieces here to talk about the book, and I was very happy that Victor Marx wrote the forward to battle there. He actually
Mm-hmm.
won the Republican nomination for governor of Colorado, so he'll be going up against the left there in
Mm.
Colorado coming up. So
Nice.
I'm actually going out to do a podcast with him here in a couple weeks, and then I'm going to speak at his rally while I'm out there. So that's kind of a nerve-wracking thing.
Very cool.
I've never spoke at a political rally, but there we go.
Oh, I'm sure it'll be well received. So is that your next micro mission? Is that in 2 weeks out? Like what is now that the next mission is out, what's the next mission?
I've actually got another couple books that I'm working on, and I don't know what book will actually ever see the light of day, but and I'm not even going to tell you about them yet because they're
Sure.
so. I've written about 10 chapters of it already, and when I go back and I read it, I'm like, oh, this sucks. I got to like just flush this entire chapter and do something different. But
Mm.
even if I write a chapter that I'm going to throw away, it makes me content to do that. I do want to try to get the fiction. I'm trying to convince my wife that the fiction should go out the door, but so I'm
Mm.
working on that. But then the other thing we're working on is um, I've got several classes that are upcoming. We just got back from Texas. I spoke down there Saturday. The weekend before that, we were at Cheyenne Frontier Days at the rodeo. This next week, I'll speak for one of our organizations here, a government organization in Tennessee. Then I head to Pennsylvania to teach a class, and that kind of takes us into September, which is elk season.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I've been shooting my bow. I actually, literally today was the first day I've shot my compound in a long time. I've been shooting my recurve, but I haven't been shooting my compound. So I
Mm.
pulled it out and I'm like, oh man, I gotta get my archery muscles back on here. And so getting ready for that hunt in Wyoming, and then the cool thing is I'm going to take my grandson up to Wisconsin this year to do a youth hunt. So that's going to be fun. He's killed some deer on our place here. He's 12. He's killed a couple deer here, but we're going to try to get him on a big buck up there in Wisconsin.
Very cool.
And so that's kind of the next.
You still doing the bow fishing?
Yeah, I haven't bow fished in a while. I need to do more of that. I've been fishing for smallmouth quite a bit. Obviously not bow fishing for them, but I went up to your neck of the woods. Actually, not your neck of the woods, but I went up to Canada for a couple weeks and spent 10 days up in there in the Quetico Wilderness with a canoe on our back and some of my military buddies and one of my hunting buddies. He came as well, and we caught. This is the first time I ever caught all 5 species in that area because I never caught a lake trout. This year I actually caught a lake trout. Of course, we always catch walleye and largemouth, smallmouth, and pike. We catch pike there as well. But I always love going up there doing that. But I need to get back out, bow fishing because it's just so fun.
How do you juggle this all? Because I know, and I get the sense that our personalities in some respects are similar, where we're go. We like to do things and lots of ideas and lots of interests. And I find like my knife making, I've kind of put that on hold for a little bit. I started developing some things I got into AI and building programs, and I'm building another one out at the moment. But I built it off the side of my desk while I was working on another project. I got to imagine that you've got a lot of interest. Like, how do you juggle the hunting, the podcasting, the speaking, the writing, the knife making, all of the canoeing? Like, do you find that some things start to suffer over time?
Oh yeah. Definitely they suffer, but I just don't know any other way to do it. I can't. I have the same attention span as a squirrel. So I like to do stuff, but then when I'm done with that, I move on to the next thing, and then I'll circle back to that other thing when I'm ready to go. Now, one thing my wife has been on me about is like to enjoy that journey a little bit more. Of if I'm going to go fishing, then start prepping my gear a month out, and then keep working on it and refine it until okay, now I'm going to deploy on that fishing trip, and I'm going to have a good time. And I do good. Like when I'm fishing, I'm in the moment. I'm fishing. I'm not thinking about, I might think about a poem I want to write or whatever. I write some poetry. So that's kind of some goofball stuff, but that's fun. And I might be going over that in my head a little bit, but I'm not thinking about, I don't know. I try to stay in the moment when I'm doing it. I've been shooting a lot of long range here. I've been shooting the NRL Hunter matches. That's been a lot of fun because it takes me way out of my comfort zone. I had a really, really good year this year. I didn't quite make my goal. I'd shot all factory the last couple of years. This year I decided I would shoot every category and try to get on the podium in every category. Well, I podiumed in open heavy, open light, and teams, but I did not podium with factory. I only shot one factory match. I didn't make it on the podium. And I'm going to try it again this coming year.
Good for you.
Yeah. So there's a Rusty Almer Award if you win every category. I didn't go for that. I went for podium. So if I'm top 3, then I consider that for me, close enough. At least
good for
initially,
you.
That's what I'm trying to do. So that's been a really good experience for me because it's difficult. I'm uncomfortable shooting a long gun like that. I shouldn't say I'm uncomfortable. It's just calling wins is a black art.
It's voodoo.
Yeah. But it's fun. It's just so fun. And I've got people that, are good to talk to me about this or that. I actually shot a team match with my buddy, Aaron Martin. We had a blast. We ended up, 3rd in teams at that match. My first team match. He'd shot it before, but I just think that I'm always free copping is what we call the military. Frequency hopping radios, they would jump from frequency to frequency. That's how they stayed secure. I do the same thing. I'm always doing something different. The only issue I have with my MO there is that sometimes I leave a mess because Like I'll go
Yes.
teach a class and I'll come home and I'll just put my stuff in a pile and then I'll grab my stuff for the next thing I got to do and get it ready.
Mm.
And then, a month later, I'm like, my stuff is still sitting in this pile. I need
Hmm.
to, my clothes all get washed and I clean up my gear if I need to, if it's wet or muddy or whatever, but
Sure.
it may not get all tucked away the way it's supposed to be. Um, I'm
I think
working
there's a
on that.
term for that. I think there's a term for that. I've heard a few of them. I heard if you do that with your clothing, like it's all packed up, but it's over on the side, or you have another section over. They call them floordrobes. I've heard
Yeah.
those.
Yeah. Well, when I was in the army, they called it the Kyle pile. And they'd come in and I had this pile there and I'd be just digging through it. Oh yeah, here it is. And let's go. And then, but I had all my gun stuff is organized. Like if you said,
Squared away.
get in your gun bag and give me this, boom, I'd have it like, it's right here.
Hmm.
What about this wrench? It's right here. What about
Hmm.
this magazine or this, I know where all that stuff is at, but it's, you get ready to go fishing. How much fishing gear do you bring with you?
Yeah.
Man, I
How
brought
much
way
you
too
really
much stuff.
need?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you really don't need a lot. I ended up this year I went with just a little chest pack. I had extra stuff in my bag, but I really enjoyed having just that little chest pack because it was
Hmm.
so simple. We got ready to portage. I could just throw my other bag on my back and go, because I had
Yeah.
everything there. So yeah, it's I don't know how we handle it. I haven't figured out how to handle it perfectly, but
Knowing
I'm working on
knowing
it.
where all your kit is at a moment's notice, but still unable to find the ketchup in the fridge. I don't know. It seems to be the curse.
My wife always says the problem I've got is if I can't find it, I just buy a new one.
Hmm.
And that's sometimes true.
Yeah, but then you find you've got clutter everywhere. You've got too many things kicking around. It's
Yeah.
the whole "what you own owns you" sort of thing. That
Yeah, and I'm actually working on that a little bit. And we had the people watching this don't know this, but I had to upgrade my setup on my computer before I could actually get on to talk with you here. So my wife did that for me on my computer, and now my desk is all organized because as she was doing it, she
oh
she
yeah,
couldn't she couldn't look at my desk the way I had it, and she got everything is like all organized right now, right down my desk. Everything's perfect, and so
she's a good lady. Yeah, I it's sort of an anomaly. It's a juxtaposition. I create a mess all around me, and I operate best in a clean, tidy area. So I don't know. Yeah, at some point it just gets overwhelming, and it's like I either just find another room, and this is where I'm going to have to operate out of, or I'm going to have to start tidying this up. And nothing's garbage. Everything's good, decent stuff, and it's all organized but
yeah.
just everywhere.
My wife told me, she goes, "Why do you enjoy hunting so much?" And I said, "I just like it. I'm out there and life is simple." And she goes, "Well, why don't you make your life simple when you're at home?"
Mm.
She's like, "You got all this, like you live out of your backpack for 2 weeks and you love it.
Hmm.
Why don't you just do the same when you're at home? Don't live out of a backpack, but like, can you get, like you've got, you know, whatever. I've got too much stuff.
Do you accumulate?
Yeah, I definitely
Okay,
accumulate. And part of it is I'm in the firearms industry, obviously.
sure.
So I have a lot of gun stuff and I get
Yeah.
sent a lot of gun stuff. Even if I don't ask for stuff, a lot of times I get it.
Mm.
Um, and then what I try to do is if it's stuff I'm not going to use, I try to give it away to somebody. But it takes
Mm.
me a while. Like, okay, I accumulate it. I'll give you a real quick story. I called my buddy up and I said, I got a big old pile of stuff outside of my garage. Would you come get it? I said, but if you come to get it, you got to take everything.
Hmm.
You can't just come and sort through it. You got to take everything. He's like, Roger that. So him and his son, they they show up and he starts going through this pile and he calls me on the phone. He says, "Hey man, you screwed up. You left a gun laying underneath that pile."
I said everything.
And I said, "Dude, I said everything." I said, "You promised me you would take everything." He's like, "Are you serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, because that's a gun I'm never ever going to use ever again, and
Hmm.
you're you're the recipient of that gun." And here's the other thing: half the stuff in that pile I didn't even pay for because whether it's clothing or Molly gear, guns, whatever, and I'm not saying I'm not thankful for that, because in
Sure.
different phases I've needed this to use for my classes or that or whatever. But yeah, we we laugh pretty hard about that one. But
Yeah. Yeah. I, I would look at gun things as an investment. I can always sell them later, right? I can accumulate, and they're only going to make me money later on, and it doesn't always work that way. And it does get to be overwhelming. So I started saying, well, I want my gun collection. I'll start getting rid of the stuff that I don't really use, and I want to have something that's I normally wouldn't buy for myself, something a little fancier, and I can put it towards that. So that's my current mindset.
yeah,
You
I
know.
did a kind of a purge a couple years ago, and I got rid of 18 guns in one purge, and
Mm.
it was good because they're guns I'm never ever going to use ever again. So I just
Hmm.
got rid of those, and then I quickly filled those slots back up. But um, I've always
Well,
got stuff coming and going.
what are your standbys? What are the type of guns that you definitely wouldn't be getting rid of?
Well, I would say I mean ARs. That's my
Hmm.
favorite firearm, I guess I would say. I've got quite a few of those, but I don't mind getting rid of something like that I'm not using, because if I've
Hmm.
upgraded to something newer or whatever. So, um, yeah, ARs. I have obviously quite a few different pistols that are back in the day when we had 1911s. So I've
Hmm.
got, of course, 1911s and some old fat guns, that were in 40 Smith and Wesson, and um, then we carried Glocks for a while. So I've got several Glocks, and then I started shooting M&Ps, Smith and Wesson M&Ps. So I've got a
Yep.
couple M&Ps, and then now I shoot Sig products, and so I've got several 320s,
Yep.
365s, um, and now I've got into this stupid bolt gun phase. Man, that's bolt guns are freaking expensive, you
Oh
know?
yeah, it adds up, and people are like, "Oh, I'm just going to get like NRL 22 or something and save money because it's just a 22." Have you looked at the prices of those 22
Oh, I've
rigs?
got a couple NRL
Sure,
22s. Yeah, and I mean just like the ammo, and then sorting through which
and
ammo you're
yeah,
going to shoot, and then the scope for that thing, and then having it, oh, that's not shooting good enough. I'm going to rebarrel it with a custom. Oh man, I've
yeah,
went down the rabbit hole.
yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah. We got
crazy, but
IBI out here in not too far from where I'm at, and MDT was actually MDT when they first started. It was a fellow by the name of Laszlo Clementis, and he was selling gun parts and accessories on a popular Canadian gun forum. And I was living with my wife in this rental house in the White Rock area, and it was a complete just rundown crap hole of a house, but it had a shop in the back and had a quarter acre. And I'm like, this is perfect. And I was doing the parkerizing for Laszlo and his muzzle
oh,
brakes and
okay,
screws and stuff
yeah.
that he made. But he ended up having Martin come on there, and with MDT, Martin's really taken it to the next level, and Lazo started International Barrels, which is now I think IBI Precision. So there are a couple of little local companies here.
Yeah,
But
MDT, I actually I write for their blog and stuff, and I use their chassis on most of my
mm,
long range stuff, and yeah, they've been really good for me to deal with. It started out I was just trying to get product codes so I could get a discount,
sure.
and now I can get even a better deal than just the discount, because I get to test some of the new products and do that. But they're good people, and they're some of their shooters that they have are very good friends of mine. So
Hmm.
it's nice to see they usually attract pretty good people.
And it's interesting. So Josh has been on the podcast, and he's with MDT. Martin, who's has been on the podcast, and very faith oriented individuals,
Yeah.
with
Yep.
which and it's interesting to see the success that follows a person who will live their life by a certain code, and if that code is altruistic and it's got a uh, maybe it's just having the concept of a higher power, that you're not the be all end all, and just having that is humbling and allows you to grow things out. I'm noticing it over and over again.
Yeah.
Like Bear Grylls, he's been pretty popular. He's done well for himself. He's actually written some books. I think the last one he wrote was The Greatest Story, I think it was called. I wasn't able to read the whole thing. This book, however, is more my style of how I enjoy to consume information. It's got a flair to it that I found lacking in that other book.
Well, you got to write to your customer, and our customers are you and military dudes, law enforcement, like Joe average guy out there. This isn't meant, if you're a Bible scholar, you're going to scoff at this book. You just are. But I'm not trying to help Bible scholars out. I'm trying to help people out that might be lost or wondering. And if you look at the beginning, what it says in there for the commander's intent to reach the unreachable. So, the Bible scholar's not the unreachable. The unreachable is that guy or gal that's never going to read the Bible. And if I tell them a story, they're going to be like, now what? This was from the Bible? Are you serious? And we start out slow. We start out with a story about Moses when he was a baby, and it's not real, it's not super exciting. But then we get going with, Joshua and Caleb going into the promised land and doing a reconnaissance. Man, can you imagine the intensity of that? And then it gets even more, like you get into Gideon and fighting, and you get into Benaiah and going into a pit with a lion on a snowy day. What was that about? So it's that's I think that like you said, you want to be, for us, we're pretty particular about who we work with in the industry, and we try to avoid shysters. And
They're everywhere.
Yeah, and snake oil salesmen. And you got to be careful too. You don't want to wear your faith as a badge of honor, because it's not. It should be, that should be held close to your, it should be held close to your vest, and you should let your actions tell people that that's how you feel. You shouldn't come out and say, "Oh, well, I want to do business with you because I'm this or I'm that," because that makes me go, "Well, wait a minute."
That's where the shysters like to hide.
Yeah, it's like, man, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I'll admit my faith to anybody on the planet. I have no problem with that. But I do think sometimes people, because I've been probably screwed by those people more than any other people that we've dealt with. Because there's some guys that are complete dirtbags that I deal with, and I love them because they're honest. They live a moral code that's written in the good book, and they don't read the good book because they're just good. They are good people that when they say something, their word actually matters. But they're rough around the edges. They're probably tattooed up. I mean, nothing wrong with tattoos, obviously.
No.
But they're a rougher kind of guy. That's the people that I'm attracted to. That's the person that I want to be with them, because I can trust them more than some of the other people out there. Yeah.
That's always been so I was raised in this Roman Catholic environment, went to a few different Catholic schools. I kept getting kicked out. It was high energy, high interest, lots of things, but,
being a boy. Yeah.
Well, that's it, right? I mean, there is a way to deal with people. And I had one teacher who actually it was in grade 4. He's like, "I don't know if I can teach you, but you seem really interested in chemistry. Did you want to bring your chemistry set and set up in the back, and you can teach chemistry at the lunch breaks?" And I mean, a quarter of the class would stay back because we're making disappearing ink and things blow up, right? Exothermic reactions. And that's cool. And I was 110% into that. It was just, that's where it goes. I don't think the general schooling system is geared towards that kind. It's hard to cater to each individual interest. I get it. But you're talking about being in that, you get to see people of faith and people who wear the faith, because of what it makes them.
Yeah.
And the human institution of it all was the one thing that really kind of set me off from that path for a long time. And just looking at how corruptible, I mean, we're all corruptible, everyone's
Yeah.
fallible, and that's where I find hunting and being in the forest a place where you can connect with the divine, where you can
Yeah.
so everyone's got their own kind of path there. You've taken a very vocal path and showing people. You're not saying this is what you got to do. You're saying here's a path that might work for you. I mean, it's worked for me. It might work for you, right? And I really can appreciate that approach.
Well, one of the things that I see a lot on our side of the aisle, and I'm going to just blurt it out there, it's we see a lot of Christian people talking bad about Muslims
Mm,
and Islam. And I'm going to tell you, I've got a buddy that is Muslim that's done more for my faith than any Christian has done for my faith in the last couple years,
mm,
because he's been my friend and he made me realize that not all of those people are bad. Not all of them are terrorists. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
Like we're trying to say they're all terrorists. Well, come on, man. Give me a break. And then when I read it in the Bible and it says that the two things that you're supposed to do, that Jesus said that you're supposed to do, is you should heart, body, soul, mind, everything you focus on the Lord is the Lord. And then the second thing is to love your neighbor.
mm-hmm.
He's my neighbor.
That's something you're not seeing a lot of in past years, and I'm also seeing a resurgence. And maybe it's just my feed, or maybe it's where my attention is. But you're seeing a resurgence in the popularity of faith, particularly Christianity, and maybe it's because that pendulum swung so far to one side that the people are starting to push back a bit. It's easy to be able to manipulate and control masses by having a shared enemy. And that shared enemy can just be one side against the other. It's way harder to find value in the side that you are supposed to despise and
Yeah,
find
and the thing
common
is,
ground.
he sent me a Bible verse one day, and I was like, "No, it's a Bible verse. It's not from the Quran. It's a Bible verse." And I read it, and I'm like, "Man, that's just what I needed today. Like
Yeah.
this guy loves me like a brother, and I needed that today." And then a couple days later, I called him up and I said, "Hey, man." And the way we met is I speak Arabic, colloquial Egyptian Arabic,
Okay.
and he was in one of my classes, and he's Egyptian. And when I found that out, I laid on some colloquial Egyptian Arabic to me, and he's like, "You're speaking Arabic, and you're speaking my dialect." And we were just like all instantly, we had this we had this thing going on, you know?
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah. So we started talking, and he said, "Well, I sent you that verse out of the Bible because I didn't think that you would appreciate if I sent you a verse from the Quran."
Do you remember the verse?
I'd have to dig it
Okay.
up. But the moral of the story is he cared enough to take a verse from the Quran and go find
Mm,
that same verse in the Bible that says the same thing. It's not the
mm,
same verse, but it says the same thing. And he sent me what I needed, not what somebody who's Muslim would need.
mm.
So that led me down like so what truly are his beliefs? Like what, we hear all of the beliefs about how bad these people are, and
Right.
I'm not trying to convert anybody to be Islamic. That's not what I'm trying to do. You know that. But
Sure.
if you look in the Quran, there's they speak of Jesus. Okay, now their beliefs in Jesus are different than our beliefs in Jesus.
Mm,
Um, there's a book of Mary about Mary, the mother of Jesus. A lot of these other figures that are in the Bible are also in the Quran. So I guess what I'm trying to get at is, they believe that Jesus is the Messiah, that he sits at the right hand of God, and then he's coming back. Okay, well that's similar to what I believe. Now I'm
sure.
not trying to tell people to go out and and change. That's not it. I'm just telling you that when you meet somebody like that, meet them where they're at, and that's as your neighbor. So love your neighbor. That's what the good book says. Love your neighbor, or he's my neighbor. He's, obviously he doesn't live close to me here, but
Sure.
he's the guy, and he has given me more back than anybody that I've been in contact with, because he's so open with his faith. If I ask him a hard question, he will give me the hard answer. And he asked me some hard questions too, and I just shoot, completely straight with him, because there's absolutely no judgment from either side. And I think that's what no matter what your beliefs are, I don't think that in either one of those books it says you should judge other people. It definitely, that it doesn't say that. I had a lady the other day. I was eating chow with a good buddy of mine, and he uses the F word a lot. He's from up in New England. He was from up there. Now he lives down here. So this lady gets up beside us at this Mexican restaurant, and she's getting ready to leave. A big old heavyset gal, and she stops at our table and she goes, "I just want to let you know that you're in Centerville, Tennessee, and we're a Christian community, and we don't appreciate talk like that," and blah blah blah. She started going on. My buddy's like, "What is she saying?" Because he's
Sure.
deaf, he couldn't hear what she's saying. I said, "Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't say anything," and she keeps going, and I was like, I've met a few Pharisees, but I saw one standing right there trying to tell me, like how we have to act.
Right.
I'm here meeting this guy where he's at, and I'm loving him because he's my brother, he's my friend, and I want to help him out. And he speaks a little bit differently than she believes people should speak. I'm with him, and I'm with him.
Well, Christ didn't hang with all the perfect people. He was out there with the prostitutes and the
fishermen.
Yeah.
So
those
anyway,
dirty fishermen. Yes.
Yeah. So finally she leaves, and he goes, "What did she say?" And I told him, and of course, he went off, about that too. And I was mad. I was like, "You attacked my friend, and you use this term that, this cookie cutter of what a Christian is supposed to be versus what the Bible says. So you're taking what you're taking old, you're, and that's why I would say, like a Pharisee or something that's
sure, of
coming
course,
trying to lay rules on us from the Old Testament where, well, if you want to go and sacrifice animals, you do that. But, Christ died on the cross for us. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with the latest update to that good book. You know what I'm saying?
Latest firmware update.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess what I'm saying there is you just never know who you're gonna meet, how I don't know where I was going with that, honestly. I just think it's a good discussion to have, because there's enough hate out there. We don't need to add to that. Now, there's people that do need to be hated. If there's child molesters and folks like that, I'm all on board with that. That's that's completely a different line of questioning,
That's right.
But when it comes to, if a guy is Jewish or Muslim or Buddhist or whatever, so you're telling me I got to hate that guy? I really don't think so.
There's more that connects us and actually divides us. And
yeah.
But that's not what people see on the day-to-day, because it's maybe we're wired that way to begin with. I think some people obviously will take advantage of that wiring, and they'll use it for their own benefit to try and divert attention maybe from what they're doing, or to control masses or whatever it might be. But I don't think there's some grand architect out there saying, okay, now we're going to make them hate here, and we're going to make them hate here. I think people do that well enough just on their own.
Oh yeah.
I think we're naturally wired just to find the differences and become tribal. And I find there's a lot of people out there who like to cloak themselves in virtue when it's not actually what they are. It's
so you just said something I want to jump in on. You said about the tribe. So I maybe have a different. I guess we all have different opinions.
Sure.
So my opinion on tribe is that tribe is a good thing. And
yes.
I think tribe is a good thing because you should be around people that make you better. And
Yes.
tribe makes you better. Tribe, the members of a tribe take care of each other. Now, when I say tribe, I'm not talking about the color of your skin. I'm not talking about what part of the planet you happen to be born on. I'm not talking
Mm-hmm.
about what religion you choose. This dude, Sharif, is part of my tribe. I mean, he's met my daughter, he's met my wife, he loves my family. He's part of my tribe. And some people would say, "Oh, they're gonna." It's like, well, then you're not part of my tribe. If you don't love your neighbors, then you're not part of my tribe. You know what I'm saying? And
Yes.
who are the neighbors? The kid that's starving to death, in Burma, or they've been bombed. Well, my buddy lives in Thailand, so that's his neighbor, and they're literally Free Burma Rangers are going in there and helping those people out. They're actually
Mm-hmm.
helping their neighbors. And the first things they do are not, "Oh, you better believe in God or I'm not going to help you." They don't say that because they're
Right.
good people. They say, "How can we help you to fix the wound that you just got? You're displaced, so let's try to get you a place to live. It's going to be made out of a bamboo poles and a tarp or something like that. We're going to get you some chow over here. We're going to get you medical aid. And okay, we're done with all that. Hey, we're going to do this thing. Would your kids like to come? And we're going to do this good news program, and they're going to sing, and we're going to give them some books to color in or
Mm-hmm.
whatever." Well, what do you think those people do? They're like, "I want to be part of that tribe. These
100%.
people are helping me out. That's their, and they're white and they're brown. That doesn't matter to anybody there. It matters that they all have the same mission, and that mission is to survive with their families and be good people. It's not a mission to eradicate somebody off the planet.
Right. Yeah, I like that shared mission. I've always looked at it as just a shared value structure. And it's, you know, Konstantin Kisin, he's a political pundit, very, very well spoken British fellow from Russia, I think he is. And he talks about, diversity is not our strength. You don't go onto a football team and say, okay, everyone just go do your own thing. No, you have a shared mission. You have a
Yeah.
shared goal that you all
Yeah.
work towards. You can bring in diverse ideas, but they all have to have some overarching binding agent in there. And he talks about uh, uh, we have to think about the British Jewish community and the Muslim Jewish or the British Muslim community and all these different communities you got to think about. And he said, no, you got to think about Britain. You have to think about what we're doing because we're all in this whole thing together.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's was there an inflection point for you when because you've been a man of faith for a long time, but was there a point when it was like, okay, hold on a second, this means something here?
So my belief or this thing that I'm talking about with,
No faith, your belief.
well, I've been a believer since I was a kid, but I've my path was not very straight.
Right.
My path has been pretty circuitous, and I guess looking back, when did I talk to God? I talked to God when I wanted protection and safety, and sometimes it was, like I didn't want to be a coward. So hey, God, look out for me. Don't let me be a coward in this gunfight or
Sure.
whatever.
Sure.
I'm going to jump out of this airplane tonight from 24,999 feet. Please help me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't pray like that anymore. So my faith has evolved where I'm not asking for protection. Now I'm asking for other things like help me to do your will. Your will, not my will, your will. Like what is it I need? And it'll be put in front of you if you just, if you take that time, like you said, that time that you spend in the woods, that
Mm-hmm.
quiet time, that's what it's about. You could do that in your house too if you could just shut everything off and go into a room and just can be completely quiet. You can make that happen too. It's just easier outside because everywhere you look, it's God. Every
Mm.
plant, every animal. If you think that a woodpecker, you look at how their tongue is designed, you're telling me that is evolution? Give me a
Right.
freaking break. So I think that there's no time that I can just say that I made a flip and I still struggle just like everybody else. And I think that's kind of the point of this book too, is that those battlefield reflections, I'm very honest in those. And I show you the dirty laundry,
Mm.
and it's everybody has that. If anybody says they don't, they're
They're full of it.
yeah, they're probably not quite telling the truth there. Um, Man, I fall off the wagon, dozens of times a day. I'll do something. I'm like, I don't want to do that. Okay, God, you got to get me back on track here. And sometimes I'll do it, and I don't even like. I don't go till the end of the day, and I'm like, man, today I really sucked. I
Mm.
got to do, I got to do better tomorrow. And I think that's the point I would make to people is don't think like you're all of a sudden going to wake up one day and you're, wearing a robe and you're gonna, you know, sing songs all day, because I don't think any of us has the time to be able to do that. But you may have a point where it might become a little bit easier, to get past some of those, and some of those. There's a chapter in here called "Iron Sharpens Iron," and I talk about my buddy in Hawaii, Shane Fujinaga. He and I met, and very quickly we become friends. And the very first day that I met him, that evening he took me to where I was supposed to be lodging, right on in Hawaii, right on the shore there. And I asked him a question, and he gave me an answer. And man, the question I asked him was like, how do you like, I want to be a Christian. I want to make sure that I'm doing the right things. And he said, now this is not what he said, but wide is the path, but narrow is the gate that leads to righteousness. That's not what the Bible says, and that's not what he said, but that's what I heard, because
Mm.
it actually says, wide is the gate, or wide is the path, and wide is the gate that leads to, to failure, basically. And
Hmm.
then narrow is the path, and narrow is the gate that leads to righteousness. When I heard that, I was like, that changed how I felt, because, and I'll tell you where it came from. So stopped drinking, haven't drank in 12 years,
Hmm.
and didn't have like a big problem with it. It just needed to
Doesn't
stop.
help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on this very first trip I go on, I'm in this hunting camp, and there's a buddy of mine that's a preacher, and he's drinking. And I was like, and I was struggling with that. I was like, man, I'm not sure. I'm not judging here, but this, like, I don't know, man. And
Mm.
so I come back from that, and then I end up in Hawaii, and I'm asking my buddy, I'm like, here's what happened, and then he said that. And this guy Shane is just a man's man. He's got fingers like the size of, he's just a tough dude.
Yeah.
He goes out he goes out spearfishing. I'm like, well, how long do you go out there? How long do you go swim around? He goes, brah, sometimes I swim for like 12 hours. And I'm
Yep.
like, 12 hours? You got to
Yep.
be kidding me, And he's just a great dude. So we become uh, good friends, and just a good dude. So like I said before, he's part of my tribe. You know what I'm saying?
So, what does praying look like to you? Because I think to a lot of people, praying looks like a genie in a bottle. It's like, can you grant this wish? Can I get that? Okay, I did something stupid, and can you fix it? Can you make it not hurt? What's it look like to you now?
I just you don't have to you don't have to do it in front of people to make it count. That's one thing you
Yes.
need to remember. And you don't have to say a word. You can do it in your mind. I usually try to kind of say it, but a lot of times if I'm out in public, I might be praying about something right then and there. Um, I'm on an airplane, and the flight attendants are being turds. It's like, okay, Lord, just help me right now to not tell them what the actual laws are, because they're saying it's like,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
just stop. Just give me the patience and compassion to stop right there and
Mm.
fix this. Um, Now there are other times that it's pretty hardcore praying, and so I was at an event, and my buddy shows up there, and it's kind of cool. He's actually going to be showing up here tomorrow, and we're going to a men's event in Nashville. He's from Florida, and he shows up at one of my leadership seminars and he's like, when you get done, I got a couple of God questions for you. And I'm like, what? And he's been in a bunch of my classes. So I hurry up and I put my stuff away and we sit down and we start talking. There was another guy there, and eventually I was like, hey dude, we gotta talk about some personal stuff here if you could. So this dude bails. So I'm sitting there talking to my buddy and I go, so what's up? And he goes, I'm just this faith thing. I'm we've talked about it before, and what about reading the Bible? And we're having this conversation. And I said, well, have you prayed about it? And he goes, well, I've prayed before, but I didn't get what I was asking for.
Mm.
And I was like, well, what did you pray about? And he said, well, I was in a softball tournament and I wanted to win the softball tournament. So I prayed about it and I never won. And I was like, bro, do you think God has the time to worry about FIFA or your softball tournament? He's like, And I said, so let's back this up. Let's talk about what is an answer to prayer. I said, you told me yesterday, I went to eat chow with a buddy of his, and his buddy sent him a picture. And he's like, what's Kyle doing here? And he goes, well, he's down here to do a leadership seminar for all the sergeants. And he goes, aren't you a sergeant? And he goes, oh yeah, I didn't know Kyle was the speaker. I'm supposed to be in that class.
Mm.
So he shows up. I said, well, do you think maybe this is an answer to prayer? Because we're sitting right here having this conversation. He's like, I never thought of it that way. And I said, okay, well, I mean, I'm not saying I'm an answer to your prayer. I'm not trying to be that bold that I would say that, but we're having this conversation right now you've been struggling with, and we're sitting here face to face and we're having it. This didn't just happen, So he's like, well, how do you read the Bible? And I'm like, man, just pick it up. Wherever you start reading, it's going to be fine. Don't think you got to read it cover to cover. Don't think you have to do this. Just let it fall open and then read. And guess what? It's going to be exactly what you need right there. And then go on about your day, And at the time, his wife was not a believer. He's not really there yet. His kids are just kind of like, they don't really know. And he gets up and gives me a hug and away he goes. And I'm like, all right, I hope, I'm like, all right, God, be with this dude. Just be with him. I don't know, whatever's meant to be with him, be there if he's got questions or whatever, try to show him the way. So he leaves and I go with my other buddy, and I told him what we're sitting there. I was like, yeah, I had a long talk with this guy before we got out of there today. And he's like, oh, and boom, my phone buzzes. And I look down and it's from this guy. And I was like, okay, I hope this is good. And I opened it up and he goes, yeah, man, I left and I was driving home and a homeless guy come out and accosted my car and come up beside me, and he didn't say a word. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't put his hand out. He didn't try to clean my windshield, but he put a sign in my window, a little cardboard sign, and it said, Jesus is the answer. And then he pulled it back and he walked away. And he said, I got it. I get it. I'm good. I'm on this. Well, now let's, fast forward now a year later, him and his wife are both going to church with their kids. They've all been baptized. I mean, it's a very positive thing. He's coming this weekend to go to an event with me in Nashville, him and another one of his buddies. So that's how it works out. It's not like this magical thing. And I've had some really crazy stuff happen to me, and I'm not gonna share some of that, but I've had some answers given to me that they're not made by man. And that's it. That's but you can't get an answer if you're not listening.
Yes. I think it's kind of like Jeep drivers. These guys, they get a new Jeep. They just got their first Jeep and they drive around and they see Jeeps everywhere. Well, the Jeeps are always there, but you're just paying attention now, right? And they're all waving to each other. And I bring this up because my son got a Jeep. He's like, oh, look at all these Jeeps everywhere, right? And the Jeeps are...
My wife and I had this conversation today. What is up with the daggum ducks?
Yes, I have no idea. but they got them, and they'll duck you, and they'll put the Jeep duck or whatever on the.
Dude,
I don't know what that's about.
they must drive like complete sissies because there's no way a duck would stay on the dash of my truck. That
Right,
joker would be
come on.
quacking and rolling off the side. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah. Well, I got the luxury of living about 10 minutes away from my studio here, and the office is about a 10-minute walk away, and I don't have to drive too much because living in the Lower Mainland here, it's an easy way to definitely get your blood pressure up a few points. I think I got to do what you do. You got a nice place out there in Tennessee where you got a little bit of space, and I think that's the plan as we move forward.
Well, no, man, it's good. It's I don't know. It's the Jeep people always do crack me up, and everybody, I don't know. It's like just because you own a Jeep, that doesn't mean we're bros. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like my buddy. He had a Harley. He had like this big Harley chopper thing,
Sure.
customized thing that he built. He's like, why are these people waving at me? I'm not their bro. Like, they drive a
Right.
Harley and I drive a Harley. We're not friends because you got a Harley,
South Park did a whole episode on that one.
Yeah. That cracks me up. It does. Now, what I would say is this. As you go farther away from the flagpole, you get closer and closer. This is my opinion. You get closer and closer to the people that are your tribe. Because if I leave my house and I get on an airplane and I fly out west, and then I get in a vehicle and I drive out to the mountains, and then I get on a horse and I ride up into a hunting camp, or I walk up into a hunting camp, and then I sit down at a fire with 5 other people that have done the same trip to get where they're at, probably sitting there with 5 people that are part of my tribe.
I agree.
We don't agree on everything, and that's what's fun about that. But when we're out there and we don't agree, we don't hate each other. We have great discussions, and it's just awesome. I think that's, to me, that's kind of how that shakes out. And it's the same because if I go to teach a shooting class, there's more of the ability for them to be part of my tribe, or if I'm going to a shooting match, or if I walk into a Chick-fil-A, I'm probably going to be around more people that I agree with, than if I walk into a Starbucks. So I have one of my new goals is never to drink Starbucks coffee ever again in my life. And I've been doing pretty good for the last little bit. So
good goal. How many classes are you teaching a year now?
I have no idea.
Lots?
No, I'm doing less than I was. So like this month, I think I do 3 classes.
Primarily just in the warmer months, or because 3 classes a month?
Well, usually I don't do classes in September because it's elk season.
Hunting.
But this year I'm actually doing one the end of September. And then I've got, I'm trying to think. December, I know I've got a couple classes because I'm doing some stuff for SIG up at SIG Academy. But I generally do it when it's not hunting season. So
I agree.
And then the other thing I've been doing too is I wait till the NRL Hunter schedule comes out. I put all those matches that I want to shoot on the schedule,
Smart.
and then I plan my training around that. And sometimes I have to miss matches because I've got certain things that I have to do. But yeah, I suppose this year I'll probably do like 24 classes, something like that. Honestly, I don't even know, and I don't really want to know. We've kind of changed the way that we do this so that we do it if we want to do it, we do it. If we don't want to do it, we don't do it. Because there's some places I don't want to go. Like, I just can't go there. I can't go to California or Washington State.
Yep.
I can't do it because the gun laws there won't allow me to do what I need to do. I can't go to foreign countries and train because of my background. And there's enough people to train in America that I don't, and I've done stuff for Canadian Special Forces, and I've done stuff for other organizations too, but I've always done that at the behest of the U.S. government. So it's completely legal when I do it that way. But we're not going to put through the paperwork for me to go, train a bunch of people Jordan or something like that. Um, I'm really interested to see if this book opens any doors for opportunities as well. I don't know what's going to happen there.
Like what
Um,
kind of opportunities?
well, honestly, I've spoken at a few churches already, and that's probably the most nerve-wracking thing that I've ever done because it's
Yeah.
just, you got to you want to get it right. I don't want to make sure I don't cuss or get struck by lightning or anything like that. So, um, yeah, I guess we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm just excited for the future, and I don't even know what it is. I don't know what the future holds, but man, it's always better than I ever planned.
Yeah. I guess what I was asking about the course is like, do you find it when you're in a course, you have set class sizes,
Yes,
X number of people that can fit
yes,
inside a classroom. Yet when you write a book, you don't have that limitation. When you're on social media, you don't have that limitation. You've got to reach, and you've only got so many hours in a day. Do you find it increasingly difficult to dedicate one-on-one time when you know you could reach a much wider audience through your writing or through the knife work or through the foundation that you have?
Well, the here's the I'll just tell you the truth. How about that?
Okay, that sounds a
If
good
I
place to start.
if I shoot guns, I get paid.
Okay, I love it.
And that's just I'm just being honest with you. I love to teach shooting and I get paid very well and we have a minimum pay. So it's up to 15 students. It's this many dollars a day. And that's
Mm,
how it is. If you want one student, it's still that same amount of money for one student.
mm,
So we don't do it very many one man classes. I do some
sure.
that are like 3 or 4 guys and they don't mind paying that because then
Hmm.
they get more attention than if I've got 15 guys on the range. When I do a leadership seminar, the rule there is if you can fit them in the room, they're allowed in. So
Hmm.
it's much more of a benefit. I just did one in Texas last weekend, and SIG, they could fit 40 people in this room
Mm,
comfortably. They could fit 100 in there, but then that's not going to work for a 6 hour
sure.
class. So they put 40 in that room. They put it out. They filled the 40 slots. I went and did my thing, and it works out great. So I like to teach shooting if it's a class that I want to teach. If
Mm,
it's there's some places I just don't want to go. Like I have
I
some
get it.
places that I go where I have usually like SIG Academy. When I go there in a 15-man class, sometimes there'll be 2 people I don't know. Usually I know
Mm,
everybody in the class. Man,
that's
that's
fun.
fun. That's like
Yeah,
being with all my bros, and we just are doing our thing, and it's
and you get
really
paid to
really
do it.
yeah, and I get paid to do it. So yeah, I like to make money to so
Yeah.
that I can do the other stuff. And that's kind of the rule my wife and I have is if I'm going to go shoot this match, which is all going to be out of pocket, I got to
Mm,
teach a class to pay for that match. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So I'm teaching because I want to teach and because I have to earn money so I can use it for other things. Um, there are things I do that I don't get paid for that I enjoy just as well. I got asked the other day to go speak to a football team, and I went and spoke with them for 45 minutes, and that's always fun. I was invited to go speak to the incoming Boston Bruins hockey team. That was a lot of fun. A bunch of young guys. I've been up to West Point a few times to speak to the the cadets up there. That's always good. I spoke this year at the SIG does a big event that they bring in all the cadets from the different academies and they have a big shooting competition.
Mm,
And I was the guest speaker for the banquet at that. That was awesome because I could like talk to these upcoming young officers and kind of tell them my thoughts on the world before they step in there and actually meet other guys just like me that are going to be working for them.
that
So
is that sort of the natural progression of a warrior in your mind, that you go from a hard charger to someone who's now helping shape the minds and hearts of those who'll be hard charging as well.
well, I think that I would rather take the path of Miyamoto Musashi than somebody who just destroys everything in the end. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to be successful by helping people, not by tearing something down.
Right.
I've done enough destruction in my life where I got paid to do that, and it was really, really fun. But
Sure.
I'm beyond that now, and now I can actually build stuff and help people. And um, some of it, I think, is reflection. I mean, I reflect a lot on what I've done in the past, and that's where the poetry thing came about. Because some of my poems are, that's what they're about. They're about my past or other people's past, or just they're just kind of whatever you want it to be, but it allows you to tell a story, and doesn't really matter like who it's about or where it's from. It's just a story, and there's not, you don't have to. Some people are going to try to take deeper meaning from it, but I had a poem I read to a guy, and he freaking got all started crying and everything, and I'm like, dude.
Your
He goes,
poem?
man, that made me think of, yeah, one of my poems, and he's like, that made me think about this, and I'm like, that's not even close to where I was going with that. So you just never know like how
Yeah.
somebody's going to take something. And it was good because then he started writing poetry. His poetry, he's only written me 2 poems that he's let me read, and they are unbelievable. Because he takes like months to write a poem. I write a
Mm.
poem in like 20 minutes or whatever, and then I'll go back a month later and look at it and change it up a little bit there, and some of it is based on like what I'm reading. Like I was just reading a book about. I studied Henry V a lot because of the Battle of
Okay.
Agincourt, and then the
Yeah.
Battle of Shrewsbury, where he got injured, shot in the face with an arrow, and then had to have that removed and all this stuff, and then going into France and the Battle of Agincourt, what happened there fighting the French. So I wrote a poem about it, and it's you kind of have to know if you didn't know about King Henry, you probably wouldn't know. You have a hard time understanding that poem.
Sure.
So my plan with these, and this is what I normally do, is when I do a poem, I give like a synopsis of where it came from, what it's about, and when I talk about something in there, what that means. For example, like that poem I talked about, this guy being made of glass. Well, that was the French king. He thought he was made of glass. He was
Mm.
psycho. He was like
Hmm.
completely off his rocker, pooping on himself and doing all this stuff, and and you wonder why they lost. They had no leadership,
Right.
whereas with Henry V, and I don't agree with everything Henry V did either. However, he was a good leader at Agincourt and some of the other times that he was asked to really step up and lead. So, that's how something like that comes about. So I guess, going to back where the original question was, I'm trying to finish well, and I feel like helping people is better than hurting
Mm.
people. When we put out that, if we put out something on social media, we try to be positive, even though, we've been putting out these little videos lately, and we've been getting a lot of really positive feedback.
I've
And it's
seen that.
hard. It's hard for my wife because she's like, you're talking about these Marines eating crayons. That's just not nice. Dude, I got a picture of my buddy today. He said, I
Eating
love,
crayons.
yeah, and he's eating crayons. And here's what's crazy about it. He sends me this picture. I don't know if you can actually see this, but he's got a mouthful of crayons. Now, here's what's
Yep.
crazy about that. He's in dress uniform.
Mm.
He has a purple heart. He has a bronze star with V, and he has a silver star. This guy's a war hero,
Mm-hmm.
and he has his mouth full of crayons. It's hilarious. So it's
That's 100% hilarious.
yeah, and it's like that's the guy. That's like the guy. I want him to know, like, I appreciate Marines, and I really love. I'm jealous of Marines because they have that esprit de corps because they got a smaller element. There's just a lot of cool
Mm-hmm.
things about Marines. They got great history. The Army's got great history too, but we're so
Sure.
big. But now my wife is starting to understand that some of that tongue-in-cheek humor that GIs use, it's it's good, and guys appreciate that.
Yes.
So so yeah, we've been doing a lot of those little short videos lately. We got more coming. We're we're going to try to give everybody a hard time.
In your poems, where are you having those released or published? Because I did a quick look and I couldn't find them anywhere.
None of them have been released.
Huh.
Yeah, none of
Yeah.
them have been released. I write them and then I just keep them for my own. I've actually thought about releasing some of these, but we haven't done that yet. You want to hear one?
Yeah, 100%. Let's hear it.
So here's one I just wrote on 5 July, and
Okay.
it's not completely all spiffied up, but it's called The Jagged Burning Teeth. And I haven't rehearsed this, so I might screw this up a little bit.
It's okay.
The jagged burning teeth were tearing at his soul. His back was hunched, his body stiff, digging deeper in that hole. They charged from all directions, yet he knew not from whence they came. Their growls, their barks, their tearing teeth, no man on earth could tame. The claws are sharp as broken glass, ripping meat right from the bone. The man stood against the beast, shoulder to shoulder with his friends, but still alone. The deep, dark abyss of fear, the waves slowly rising to suck him under. The beasts continue their attacks, their wings like the sound of some evil rolling thunder. How could God design a manner befitting the devil by himself? Or did Beelzebub have a hand at placing this killing animal on the shelf? The sigh of death cleaves and cares not whose family you belong. It cuts and ravages indiscriminately, the iron sings the deathly song. Men have always bared their hearts to stand facing directly their beloved country's foe. They feel the passion, they feel the pain, but with bravery they meet death standing toe to toe. The man whose fame and fortune tied to that satanic machine, I promise he will go down below to visit all the souls his death has ever seen. Archers spread their terror as they stood upon the field. Men would gladly take an arrow, but from artillery they would yield. The unknowing devastation delivered from miles in heavens above, the sickly sweet and whining whistle, the sound no soldier man would love. Artillery is for cowards, no man and not man enough to fight. They sleep in beds and eat their chow, while trench-born soldiers fear the night. Go the way of evil thus, I ask the Lord in prayer. Let the enemy attack as men, I long to see them coming there. I will fight knowing well that death may come to knock. Promise me no artillery fire, and I'll stand there like a rock. When the sorcerer's hand points at you, there is no place to hide. The only way to stop the death is God standing at your side. So fear not the high explosives, death metal in the air. If it is meant for you, I promise that the beast of death in iron slang, it does not have a care.
Damn, Kyle. That's good. And you're not publishing these.
No, not yet. So that one came about because I was reading about soldiers, and they were dealing with field artillery. And they don't know where it's coming from. They don't know when death is, like, it's not a man that they're going to fight against. It's just coming and zapping them like thunder, and you just don't know who's going to get hit. And so that just, that inspired me. Like, I started out where it's kind of like it's an animal,
Right.
but then
yes.
eventually it gets to, it's artillery, and it scares the crap out of dudes that are out there on the battlefield because they just can't.
Totally.
Can't
It's a
defend
nebulous
against it.
enemy.
Yeah, you just can't. There's no way to fight. Yeah, it's just and that's what soldiers have been doing for all these years. So, yeah, and I've got some that are funny. I wrote one about baggage left behind.
Okay.
It's kind of a
Double entendre?
you want to hear that one real quick?
Sure.
I hate to bore you with my.
Hey, yeah, heard it here first.
So here's what it's called. It's called Baggage Left Behind. I wrote this in
Okay.
December of 24. So I was reading The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis, and in the preface he mentions you cannot take all luggage with you on all of your journeys. On one journey, even your right hand and your right eye may be among the things you have to leave behind. So this is written from a soldier's perspective. I packed my canvas bags to be loaded on the baggage train. I tried to take only what I needed, wanting not to be so vain. A warrior's life should be simple with limited possessions in our midst, so any frivolous parts of my life were left there in the ditch. It started out so tragically simple, march until you can die. Face the enemy with shoulders square, praying on the battlefield we would not lie. We didn't carry anything other than death and steel. For those who thought for glory, this war has somehow become real. My baggage is getting lighter as I trudge along this path. With every time I swing my sword, I feel the enemy's wrath. I lost a couple fingers when I swung that hammer down. I looked at the bloody missing digits. I'll be honest, it made me frown. I really only miss them when I try to count past 8, but as with gallows humors, I don't have to carry so much weight. Next to be abandoned that day when the sun was high, an archer shot an arrow, and I caught it with my eye. I must readily admit it burnt like Hades' fire. I won't win any beauty pageants, but that's not what I desire. My mates will block the blows that come from my left side. If they don't cover my weakness, I surely will take that heavenly ride. I don't recall the day or hour when my foot was cut in half. It looks kind of like a side of pork, making the old hardened warriors laugh. Marching isn't easy for a man taking half a stride, but since my brothers like the way I fight, they make sure a mule I ride. I can still shoot a bow with accuracy and swing a sword till death, but next to go I lost an arm. I can imagine the holding of your breath. It's only an arm, my poor friend, an extra is hanging in the wings. I didn't lose my voice box yet, so during the march I sings. Side straddle hop is easy for a man with all his parts. I look like a little newborn colt with jerks and fits and starts. I'm actually pretty happy since my tailor cost her half. My coats have less material. I hope that made you laugh. Standing by the cooking fire, the fighting hadn't reached our camp. A cannonball came bouncing by, that ball I tried to tramp. Zipped right by below the knee, there's no way it could be saved. Buying shoes is twice as easy, the need for a pair is waived. So in the travels through a soldier's life, if you lose some baggage along the way, it won't be the end of the world at all, that is if I have anything to say. Get up each morning, then face the east and feel that warming sun. No matter how jacked up you are, a soldier can always have some fun. We came into this world with nothing, now baggage stolen, baggage gone. When we stand in front of our Maker, all our worldly claims will be withdrawn. Don't feel sad, for I will persevere. I have a mitten on my only hand. I can still see clearly with one good eye, and on a wooden peg I stand. So as a young man, when I scrawled my name and swore that lifelong pact, I've lost lots of baggage along the way, but my dignity is still intact.
I like that.
So all of those are actually from history, guys losing arms or whatever. But the guy kicking the cannonball, that's from a book, Company H, which is a story about the Civil War. And the guy that wrote it, he's from like 30 miles from where we live here. Of course, he's dead. But guys would see a cannonball bouncing through, and they thought, "Oh, I'm going to kick that." Well, it's cannonball.
Right.
They go to kick it, and they take their leg right off. They kind of grab it and take both hands off. So it's. Anyway, that one I wrote for fun because it's that guy. He's all jacked up, but he just keeps on, he just keeps on going. So
that's I'm trying to remember the poet's name. I think they call him the Bard of the North, but it kind of reminds me of him. He wrote the Quitter and the I think it's a British fellow who came over to the Yukon, and his name slips me, but it's a similar kind of a. I think you call it iambic pentameter.
Yeah, and Patton wrote a lot of stuff too. I've got a book of poems that
did he?
My buddy sent me that were written by Patton, and I'm not a big fan of Patton. He just was kind of disappointing in some of the stuff he did, but his poetry is pretty dark, and my poetry is pretty dark. So we have that in common there. I wrote one about World War II and the paratroopers and everything, and I read it to my buddies that we all jumped into Normandy on the 80th anniversary together. And I read that poem to him there before we jumped. And one of my buddies who had been my OTC commander or OTC instructor, he's like, "Now who wrote that?" And I said, I wrote that. And he's like, you're kidding me. So then he wanted that poem, and I'm like, well, that's pretty cool that he wants a copy of that. So anyway, yeah, it's fun. It's something it's just, it's something different to do, but it's if it lets you get something out of your head onto paper, and then you kind of forget about it, then it's a positive thing. It's just kind of like making knives or whatever. You know how you get in that focus
Hmm.
when you're making a knife and you're
Yeah,
not thinking about anything but that. So
that's right. Well, it's also a bit of a window into your mind and into the soul, and it's like they say, like your books you put out. This is a definite window into you, and the Bible is a mirror, or can be a mirror. Some people
yeah,
will say, and you're going to read out of it what you want to see, and take out of it what you want to take. And um, I think it's an important thing to do, because it's because your mission in this, like you were saying before, just one person. Really, it's just one person has to get it.
yeah,
And if everyone reads the same thing and sees it in the same light and in the same way, there's only those certain people that it's gonna speak to. When it mirrors you, I think you're gonna all of a sudden, you've got a following on your own. You've got your own background. You've got your own history and
yeah, yep.
your own Kylisms. I don't know. I think it's brave. I think it's brave to put yourself out there the way that you are.
Or stupid, one of the two. There's a fine line between bravery and stupidity.
I've heard that. I don't know. I'll stick with brave. You mentioned something before as well about on your reflection about you go out, you got to be on when you're out doing the public thing, right? There's an expectation of what people want to see, and then you come home. What would the public think seeing Private Kyle in private? Um, but I guess you're getting a bit of a glimpse into that
Yeah, I
through the
don't.
books and the
I
poetry.
would. I disagree with that. They don't, even in my writing, they don't get to
Not even
see
close.
the honesty.
Okay.
That's the thing. Like when it's hard when I come back from teaching a class, like you're in charge, you're the
Hmm.
guy, they're there for you, and you're doing this, and you're up there, and you're doing it, and you come home, and it's like, whew, you come down from that, and it's not. Sometimes it's not good. It
Hmm.
can be like I can be in a grumpy mood because I've been eating crappy food I've been staying in a hotel and eating crappy food. Now I'm home and I'm tired, and I've been having to be on the whole time. And now it's like,
Mm.
I just want to, like, as my buddy Johnny Dog would say, I just want to sit there and stare at a rock. And,
Mm.
just, so I would say sometimes the, I have actually given some of my worst in one of my books, The Leadership in the Shadows, but then luckily I have my wife that saved me from myself, and she took 5 chapters and she red X the entire chapter and said, "You
Hmm.
were mad when you wrote this. Rewrite those chapters. Don't look at them. Just rewrite them. Don't use any of that as a reference. Just rewrite that chapter." And I wrote them, and they are so much better now than they were when I did it, when I was in that kind of that funk. But I
Mm.
think you have to get, and I think part of it, I do, enlighten people to some of that in here, that we all have those struggles. So when I
Sure.
say it's not honest, it's pretty honest, but it's the darker sides. I try to not expose that. I'd like to not expose that to anybody. And
Mm.
that's part of the reason I write poetry, because I can be as dark
Because
as
you
I
can,
want with
and
poetry.
it's just poetry, right?
Yeah. And that's how it actually started. I had a really bad experience and I made it through it. And I wrote notes about what happened, and I was like, I just don't ever want this to happen again. And that's the very first. I've done some scribbly poems as a kid or whatever, just to be funny. But I wrote that poem, and that one is hard. That's hard still for me to read that one. And I've let some people read it, or I've read it to some people just because they might be in that same um, they might be in that same funk, and I want them to understand that I was in that funk and now I'm past that. Um, One night, my buddy goes, "Yeah, I was talking to my buddy about up at hunting camp, and he said you read a couple poems, and he said a couple of those soldiers said it was kind of tore them up, or Marines they were." And I said, yeah. And I said, you want to hear some? And he goes, yeah. So there's the four of us. We all serve together, and we get to our hotel, and we sit down at a table there in the lobby, and they get some brown liquor, and I get a glass of water.
Mm.
And I read that poem to them, and all three of those guys were crying.
Mm.
And I was like, and really that opened up like a new chapter with my friendship with those three guys. And one of them, we already were at that point, but the other two, it really, like I realized like they are perceived as not having any of those struggles when they are having the exact same struggles I'm having.
Right.
And now we can honestly talk about that more openly because now they all know we're on the same sheet of music. So
why are you holding those poems back?
it's
Like
not ready.
for me,
It's just not ready yet. I mean, dude, there's some dark stuff, bro.
I get
And
it. I think we all have dark thoughts, though. I think we.
yeah, well, we do. And some of it is. So I wrote one about the darkness, the light. So putting the light on something, and we always the moral of not the moral, the gist of the poem is like when I was in the military, we were always putting a light on the evil. We were putting the light on these people, and literally we're putting a light on them, and we're lighting them up so that either we can, shoot or no shoot or, whatever.
Mhm.
But in the darkness, the evil was truly hiding, which was us. Like we're the evil that's out there doing this because some stuff we did was not good, And after I wrote that, my wife, I told her that poem and she's like, you did exactly what your country asked you to do. And that's the thing. That's true. That's absolutely true. But that still doesn't mean that I don't want to reflect on it and think like, if I was going to do that again, would I do things the same way that I did them the first time?
You can never step in the same stream twice.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah,
the
you
same man.
can't.
You're not the same stream. It's not. But Nietzsche would have something to say about that too, in the construct of good and evil.
Yeah.
It's and kind of what we put on it.
Well, and what like with what he would say and Jordan Peterson would say is you can't be a good person unless you have the ability to be evil.
Right.
I believe in that 110% because if you're just
right.
some little douchebag that
You're
is
just
like
weak.
pretending, yeah, you're weak, you can't do anything. The Bible says the meek shall inherit the earth. Meek and weak are not the same word.
Two different words, yeah.
Yeah, and to me, meek is somebody that carries a sword and knows how to use it, but they decided to keep it in the scabbard. But watch out when they actually pull that joker out and get busy. So yeah, someday, my wife has been talking to me about trying to get some of these out. I've written a bunch of poetry, and it's fun. Some are fun, some are the ones I just read you. They're kind of fun. They're kind of
Sure.
fun poems.
And they're not all going to be bangers for one person, but I'm sure they're going to be different ones will speak to different people in different ways. I think if I was writing poetry like that, there would be a fear of opening up too much and having people view in a little too deeply.
Yeah.
And the wrong people, not necessarily the right people getting in front of them. Even with this podcast here, a lot of times you're probably the same way, but I'm constrained. I hold things back. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of things I could share and tell, but you don't because you want to juggle the possible impact that it might have, and maybe if some of it's just reconciling with yourself.
I'm trying to find one that's kind of. I wrote one day just. Oh my goodness, if I can find it here.
I'd love to read it regardless.
Here we go. I just found it. Okay.
All right.
So I was joking with him and I said, he goes, well, have you written any limericks?
I was going to say, those are the only poems I've ever written myself, and they're not appropriate.
So this is the limerick that I wrote. The darkest time is in the night, but it's the day that brings me fright. There now clear and bring me fear. Please let the blackness take my sight.
I like that one.
That's a tough one. If you really start to
Yeah.
tear that apart, the darkest time is in the night, but it's the day that brings me fright. That's true.
Mm-hmm.
There now clear and bring me fear. Please let the blackness take my sight.
Mm-hmm.
And you can take that however you want to take it. He said,
think
he
there's
goes,
something
it's
to-
really good, but I think they're supposed to make you laugh. He goes, that's the darkest, he goes, that's the darkest frickin' limerick I've ever read.
No, and how long did that one take you to write? Because
Probably about 3 weeks.
yeah, okay, I'd say so. That's there's a lot packed into a very small space on that one.
Yeah, I'm going to read you. So I'm going to read you not a poem, but I'm going to read you the first page of a book. Because you always, as a writer, you want to think like, what's something that captures people? This is the first, I'm going to tell you what book it is. It's Lonesome Dove.
Okay.
You familiar with that?
No,
It's a Western.
I've heard of them, but I haven't read it.
So it's Augustus McCrae and Captain Call, and they're both former Rangers, and Rangers like Texas Rangers. So this is the first sentence in that book. When Augustus came out on the porch, the blue pigs were eating a rattlesnake. Not a very big one. Isn't that a great, that's
a good
one
way to
line.
start it, eh?
That's, and he could have stopped right there. He had me. I was like, that's a great, that's just a great read there. So
Yeah, it just paints a picture. It sets an expectation. It conveys a lot of information. Very short.
yeah. So that's one of the things. I don't know if we talked about this on the last podcast or not, but I have never read. No, let me rephrase that. I've read one Stephen King book, and it's his book called On Writing.
Oh, okay.
And I got a lot out of that. I've never read any of his other stuff. I just don't think I would like it. It's way too dark for. I mean, I got enough dark stuff. I don't need to add to that, But one of the things he said in that book was that your manuscript, when you go through it the first time, to your first scrub of it, you should try to take 10 to 20% out of that. And I was like, no, man, that's your book. Like, that's your book. You don't want to get, you put it in there. You just don't want to take it away. Well, you take 10 to 20% out that doesn't need to be there. You clarify your writing by getting rid of a lot of adjectives, and you still end up with a book that's 432 pages long. You know what I'm saying? This has been refined down and down and down and down to where it's I'm trying to just say what needs to be said and not all the other, a lot of fluffy stuff there,
Well, like your limerick there's a lot that can be said in short words, and the mind will fill in the blanks. And when it's spoon-fed to a person, it gets a little pedantic. When it's short, it allows for interpretation, just like it's somebody looking at art or listening to one of your poems or reading one of your poems.
Have you ever heard of the Hemingway app?
No, I know Hemingway, but not the Hemingway app.
Yeah, so I would say I'm probably not a huge Ernest Hemingway fan. I'm just not. I read not all of his stuff, but most of his stuff.
I like the idea of fishing through the sawtooths in a romantic sort of way, Hemingway did. But aside from that,
I think maybe the reason I struggle with Hemingway is because of his personal life versus the writing. But whatever. There's an app called the Hemingway app, and there's another app called Scrivener. So I write on Scrivener. Okay. Because Scrivener allows me to quickly move stuff, and it's just a very good writing app. And then when you get to a certain point, we have to go to Word, because Word allows us to make changes, accept changes, and do all that stuff. So there's kind of a process that I follow. I go from Scrivener, once it's to a certain point and I'm going to start doing the editing process with my wife, then it goes to Word, and then we start that back and forth with the Word document until we get it right, and then it's accepted, and then it moves into another stack. Then it goes to the actual editor, who's a former Command Sergeant Major, Kevin Dorsch, and he does the editing work. So this app called the Hemingway app, if you get that app, what's really cool about it is you just take your writing and you drop it into the Hemingway app, and it'll tell you, it will grade your writing. Now, it doesn't give you like an A plus, B minus. It doesn't do anything like that. What it does is it'll say too many adjectives, and it'll highlight all the adjectives. And then you go through and you start like, what happens if I've got 20 adjectives here. What if I take 15 of those out? Man, your writing becomes better.
Interesting.
So it's an interesting way to, and I don't use it, like I don't drop everything in there to see how I'm writing, but I've done a lot of that because I'll write something. I'm like, well, how am I doing? And I'll drop it in there. Oh, and then it'll also tell you what grade level you're writing on. So
interesting.
So
what grade level does a good writer want to write at?
It depends on who your customer is.
Okay.
So for me, I would say as a writer trying to reach military and law enforcement people, I probably want to write on a 6th grade or below level. And I generally do. Like I just generally, and that's not a mean thing to say.
No, I get it.
That's reading that every person that has
keep it simple.
An 8th grade education should be able to read this book. And now there are some big words in here they might have to, they might have to look up. But, well, seriously, you read something like a Jordan Peterson book, you're going to be like, what in the heck is he talking about? Or maybe a Winston Churchill book, because he's using some English words that we may not use as much anymore.
They're quite loquacious.
Yeah, exactly. Or a coquette, like if you read, if you read something written by Washington Irving, you're going to be looking in the dictionary all day long, and it's awesome writing. Like it's spectacular writing. It actually makes you a better writer because now you can, the way that you do descriptions is going to be a little bit better. But when I put it in there and I see that I'm writing at a 5th grade level, 6th grade level, 4th grade level, whatever, at first that kind of bothered me. And then I took a speech that President Obama gave, and I dropped it in there.
I know where this is going.
And he's speaking at like level 13.
Okay.
So who's he communicating with, bro? Like, who's he trying to talk to? Because he ain't talking to me. He ain't talking to anybody that I serve with in the military. He's not talking to any of the ranchers in South Dakota or the farmers in Wisconsin. Who's he talking to? Because he's
talking to himself. I mean, there's a part of that intellectuals like to be heard, and they like to impress others with their vocabulary and verbiage. And
so you see my point there. My point is he was speaking at a college level, and when I just went through that speech, I'm like, I don't even know what this word means. So if I'm out there getting spoken to, you're not going to have a dictionary and be going through a dictionary while you're listening to a speech. Yeah. When you're reading a book, you might, because there's going to be certain books that you're going to read that you're going to have to use a dictionary just because that's the way it is. But when you read a book like, say, a Jack Carr thriller or a Jason Casper thriller, you probably don't have to get out a dictionary. Now, you may want to get on the internet because you want to find out what gun or watch or car or whatever they're talking about. But their English is clear and it's written so that they'll understand. Now, I've had some people that they want to use big words, and I tell you what's really hilarious. I know a lot of words. And I've
in more than one language.
Words, and I've called out some of these guys. I'm like, what does that mean? What does that word mean? And they look at me. They're like,
I don't know.
So you just used a word. You don't even know what it means.
Uh-huh.
Like you use the word pedantic.
Right.
So what does that mean to you?
It's
Okay.
talking down to somebody. You're telling them something in a repetitive.
So does that come from the word pedagogy? I don't know. I'm
Uh,
just asking.
no, what's the etymology of it? I don't know. Maybe that'd be an interesting one to look up. There you go. There's your etymology.
Okay. So let's look this up because this is fun.
Yeah. Do you ever use AI?
I try not to
Yeah.
because AI is usually wrong. It depends on what you're researching. If you want to research like the weight of something or um, I'm trying to think like something maybe from modern history. But
Mm.
I think if you get into like I have used it to try to research some stuff, and I've gotten back stuff that's so crazy that it's like okay, I can't use it for like I can't use it for Bible stuff because it'll give me completely wrong stuff.
Yeah, it's what's interesting on the Bible stuff. It's and maybe it's updated and it's more advanced now, but it's biased. It's very. You got it?
I got it.
Okay.
So remember what my question was? Is it tied to pedagogy?
Right. The
However you would
act of
say that.
teaching and
Right. So
relaying information.
pedant, schoolmaster, person who overrates book learning,
Okay.
uh, pedant of obscure origin. The first is presumably that of pedagogy, to which
Ah.
has been added the preposition ending anti or ant. Pedant, direct from it, hence pedantic. So that's why I ask you that. Like,
Yeah.
so when you said it's like this, what that means
Yeah.
to me is like when you're teaching, it is because it's
Yeah.
like you do it over and over and over and over and over, and over, right? That's how
Right.
you teach. So when I heard that word, like my kids taught me this, like you hear a word, like what's the root word, and then how
Hmm.
you can get back to it. And right there, pedantic goes back to pedant. I never heard the word pedant. And
Right.
then pedagogy, which is obviously talking about
Yeah.
teachers as well. Um, just isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Okay. And you nailed it right on the head too of where it came from. Okay. What about loquacious? Where does loquacious come from?
We're about to find out.
Call
People are
me out
going to
on
be
the
like,
words I'm
"What
using.
are we?" What I should probably ask you first is,
What do I think it is?
how do you spell it? Let me see. Locou, right?
Is it LOC or is it LO? I guess loco, but I thought it was LOQU. Loquacious, but
See, that's why you're Canadian and I'm American. Let's
yeah, we
see.
use the metric system for our spelling.
I actually won the spelling bee when I was a kid, but I give up after that. L O. Okay,
QUACIOUS.
loquacious. Talking much.
Yeah.
So it's Latin.
Okay.
Loquacy, loquatics, loqui. See locution and locutious. See loquacity, or how you would say that, loquacity, something like that.
Okay.
Loquacious. So it's
Huh.
Latin. Um,
I did see Jordan Peterson live. He was at an event, and I think it was Sam Harris that he was talking with. And I laughed halfway through. I mean, it was an interesting thing, but you couldn't follow these people. They were, it was just a word salad at a certain point. It was each one
yeah.
trying to impress the other side back. And it was just like, I had free tickets to it. I was thankful for the tickets, but I, I just wasn't following it.
So part of that is, this is my opinion on that. If you listen to Jordan Peterson a bunch, you're going to start to understand you'll understand the 20 words that he uses over and over and over and over.
Mm,
Or maybe it's 50 words or whatever. So you've got to
sure.
learn 50 different words to listen to Jordan Peterson speak and understand what he's talking about.
Mm,
Every writer, I think, does the same thing. It's just that, like say, um, like Teddy Roosevelt, for example. So Teddy Roosevelt, obviously one of our presidents, but he was also a great writer. But his writing was made for guys like us.
mm,
It just wasn't made for anybody that was real highfalutin, you know. um, one of the words that he preferred to use was I got to think of it now. When a river turns and it leaves that sediment, um,
The silt,
yeah, like the silt, it's alluvial.
alluvial. Yes, the
Yeah,
alluvial
so
plains.
alluvial plain or alluvium is what that is
Right.
called. So like in my book, I put that in there because I wanted that is a word I give credit to for
So
Teddy Roosevelt. And when if you
interesting.
start reading his books, you're going to see that that word will be in every book he's written. I promise you that. And
You
that's
know
like
what?
not a word. It's not a word that really, it fits with what he's writing about because he's going to put it if they're talking about a stream. Well, we went down there to the we're in the alluvium on the corner of the stream or whatever, the
But no
alluvial
one talks like
soil.
that.
Not really, no. You
Yeah.
know. So anyway, I think I just I was reading a book by a guy, I can't remember the guy's name, but he talked about, the history of the English language. And what's really interesting about that is where the words come from. So are they Saxon? Are they Latinate? And that's one thing
Mm.
I didn't understand either. But then when you start to look at words, if you have two words, so let's talk about cow. Is cow Saxon or is it Latinate?
I'm going to go Saxon, and I'm just guessing here.
Well, okay, because what is the other word for cow? Bovine.
I right. Yeah.
See what I mean? Like it totally makes sense. Like it's Latinate is bovine.
Yeah.
Equine
Yeah.
would be horse in Latin,
Yeah.
not in Latin, but Latinate. So
Yeah.
the root of the word equine is Latin, whereas horse is Saxon.
Right.
So you
Cervid,
can start
bovid.
right,
Yeah.
and almost every word that's in the English language has a Saxon word and a Latinate word for the
Mm.
same meaning. Which
Interesting. I never once thought about that.
it's really to me it's really intriguing though. It
Yeah.
really is because it's our history. It's if you read there's a 4-book series by Churchill called The History of the English Speaking Peoples.
Okay.
And it seems like it would be tough to read because each book is like this thick, but it's
Mm.
just a breeze to read because it's all of our history. And whether it's your history, American history, English history, it's the history of English speaking peoples.
Mm.
So it's all of us because we speak English. So
And
it's just
I think it's powerful in a sense that the more you're able to articulate something or put words on something, the more power that you have over that thing. If there's, let's say, something you're afraid of and it's nebulous and you can't touch it and
yeah.
it's out there, but the second you say, "Oh, I know what that is," and I can put my finger on it, all of a sudden I can start defining it. I put a word on it. I can examine that and I can say, I know solutions for this. I know ways to kind of quell my fear because I know what that is. And to me, um, that's why I like to learn things and I like
Yeah.
to learn the etymology of things and the words behind it, because without that, I'll feel something, and you're also missing out on so much in life if you can't have a word for that.
Yeah, and I think if you look at my wife and I were laughing about this weekend. We were flying, and I said, I think Shakespeare come up with that, and she's like, what? I said, yeah, like alligator. He come up with alligator. She's like, well,
Did
so we
he?
looked. Yeah, the stuff that bro came up with. It's crazy. The words that he made up, like alligator. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like we use
Hmm.
that it's just a common word now.
It's an
And
alligator. Yeah.
And there's I don't know if it's 100 different things, but it's a lot that he came up with phrases that came from. It's just really intriguing that a writer, he was nothing but a writer dude. He just told stories, and
Mm.
now everybody uses the words that writer made up.
Without even knowing it.
Oh no, well, oh yeah, we do it without even knowing it.
Yeah.
But if you do a quick I'm going to give you a couple because then you'll understand exactly. So here's just a few of them. Break the ice. Wild Goose
No,
Chase,
those are
Heart,
Shakespeare?
yeah, Heart of Gold, um, In a Pickle, Green Eyed Monster, Bedazzled, Lonely, Eyeball, Swagger,
Lonely.
Lonely, Being Without Companions or Isolated from
Yeah.
Coriolanus was in that one. Midsummer's Night, he used the term eyeball, the sphere of the
Okay.
eye. Swagger, to walk or behave in an arrogant way from A Midsummer's Night's Dream.
I would have not pinned those on Shakespeare.
I just think it's crazy. Um, we've seen better days, too much of a good thing, neither rhyme nor reason. I have not slept one wink.
Hmm.
Cruel to be kind. The clothes make a man.
Huh?
Um, it's Greek to me. Anyway, it's
Well,
I just think it's really intriguing.
I was asked to be on a podcast a few weeks ago, and it was the podcast is called The Collective. Sean Taylor and Chance Burles, and Sean's ex JTF2, and Chance is a sapper, and the two of them, they talk about different things, and they've done a lot. They've done a lot of podcasts, and the topic was guilt and feeling guilty. And I said, well, what do you mean? You want to talk about guilt? Like, and they just wanted to expand on what that looks like. And it's like, when you're out and people feel guilty that they're not out doing something, and they feel guilty that, and I said, well, hold on a second. Like, let's explain this. Explain it to me a bit more, because to me, guilty is like, you're guilty, right? You've done something wrong and you're guilty. And anyways, through the process of this podcast, we learned that the word that I associated with guilt affects how I deal with guilt. I said, I don't know if I've actually felt guilt. Like, if I do something, I'm slow to process emotion. Like, I
Yeah,
compartmentalize. I don't get excited in the moment. I'll be happy. I'll be excited afterwards. There's plenty of time for that. I'm
yeah,
slow to process, and then I'm fast to problem solve. So there's this whole delay buffer where other people apparently feel guilt. And I don't know if it's just a wiring thing, but to me, I think it's because I've always associated guilty with a certain word, and maybe I've filled different emotions and feelings with different words or something, but I've never felt guilty, apparently, in the sense that they were talking about it. And that, I think, comes down to how we use words.
that's really interesting. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, either that, or maybe I'm just a little different, but one or the other. Um, but I was having a hard time trying to understand what they meant by that feeling. Like, if I do something wrong, I make amends and I atone for it. If I don't have the feeling of guilt. Do you feel guilt?
I think I do,
Okay.
but I think yeah, I probably might put that in a different terminology as well.
Hmm.
I don't know. Now you're gonna make me think about this for a while. Yeah, I might have to get back with you on that one.
Oh, okay, sure. And that
No.
was one that, because one of the people, because they have people that can chime in on this podcast, they can write something in, and they said, well, what about psychopathy? I mean, like, maybe there's or sociopathy or whatever. Is that a part of maybe why you're not feeling guilt? I'm like, no, I don't think so, because I care about people and I care about things and all the rest. But compartmentalization, and even when people talk about things like psychopathy or sociopathy, it's got a negative connotation towards it, whereas a tier one operator would be well served to be able to process emotions differently. Same with a judge or a surgeon. I
Yeah.
mean, if they're breaking down after every lost patient or every person they're having to put behind bars, then uh, maybe they wouldn't be
But
too good at the role.
I also think that training plays a large part in that.
Okay.
Like for the guys you're talking about, those guys they've trained and trained and trained and trained and trained and trained to where it becomes they're just repeating a process Now that process involves, instead of shooting a paper target, they're shooting a person. Okay, yeah, that's a jump. It definitely is. But it's an easier jump for them than it is for somebody that's never trained to shoot a target. Now all of a sudden they're shooting a person.
Right.
So I think that, yeah, I hope we're not all psycho.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing. Honestly, I think criminal psychopathy is a bad thing. But I think the way that people process emotions, you need the people that really feel, because they're the ones that are going to be able to be the canary in the cage when things are going wrong. And they're the ones that are going to be able to identify those who can't help themselves and need help in a split second. And you need those people who can uh, make pragmatic, analytical decisions in the moment as well, without being overwhelmed by all that feeling. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but
Yeah, but I wouldn't call that psycho.
no, but I think a lot of people do.
Yeah, and I think they're wrong. I think they're completely wrong. I think it's called being professional. You're a professional in that environment. That's what's required of a professional, is to act a certain way. Now, that doesn't mean at the end of the day that a cop doesn't go home and cry
Sure.
or feel sad or have emotion. If that, if a cop or a military guy just like never ever feels anything, then they probably got a problem.
I
But
agree.
if if you go to where an IED has just been blowing up and you see a bunch of women and children that are in bad shape, if that doesn't eventually like bother you or
Then there's
create
something wrong.
emotion, I think there might be something a little twisted,
I
in your
agree.
brain. And I would also say, guys will say, well, oh, this guy probably tortured animals as a kid. Well, there's one thing to torture animals as a kid. There's another thing that if you keep torturing animals when you're, 25 years old, then I think, when kids have a curiosity, they want it, they're going to do something because they just want to see like what the outcome is. I
Right.
don't know
They
that they're
might
going.
not fully understand
Yeah,
the
there
consequence.
may or may not be malicious, but if
Mm.
you're, 30 years old and you're malicious about how you treat an animal, then that's a problem. I think that, and I think it's difference between. I'm not a psychologist, obviously, but I think it kind of has to be different between men and women. Men don't need to act a certain way. They're built to act a certain way.
Right.
And I think, you talk about your teacher there that let you set up your chemistry set. Obviously, was that a man?
Yes, it was.
And
It sure was. It was my
when I
first
was
male teacher.
when I was a kid, I had a teacher that was Mr. Kadinger, or oh, Mr. Kadinger. I had Mrs. Kadinger. She was my favorite teacher ever. Mr.
Yeah.
Kinder was a male
Okay.
teacher, and he taught English. He did public speaking, and I loved this guy. He like I was going to be this hillbilly in this show, and I'm like, well, it'd be better if you had like a black powder rifle because that's what that guy would carry. And he goes, well, if you can get a black powder rifle, bring it in here and we'll use it in the show. So I brought my black powder
Amazing.
rifle in school and I was the hillbilly in this whatever. So
Amazing.
we had a kid in our class that he had to be in this class, and he was always a little dirty because he rode a motorcycle all the time like a dirt bike. So he always had kind of dirty fingers because we all did. We were all farm kids, but he was just a little bit extra dirty,
A little extra.
a little extra greasy, and he didn't really talk to anybody. And he's telling Mr. Kinder, he's like, Mr. Kinder goes, well, do a speech, whatever you want to speak about. And he goes, well, I don't know what to speak about. And he goes, what do you like to do? He goes, I like to ride my motorcycle. He goes, well, then do something about your motorcycle.
Mm.
What do you do with your motorcycle that you could teach everybody? Change an oil. He goes, well, teach us how to change oil in your motorcycle.
Mm.
Well, how am I going to do that? And he goes, you're going to bring your motorcycle into the classroom and you're going to show us how to do it.
And I bet he was pleased as anything because he
This
can
kid
share
was
something he's
like
passionate about.
totally stoked.
Mm.
We were all stoked because we're seeing this guy act. We'd never seen him excited. We've never seen him happy. We've never seen
It's
him like
contagious.
engage with people. He brought his motorcycle in the school, which was awesome, and
Yep.
pushed it down the hallway and pushed it into Mr. Kinder's class, and he gave that class on it, and how many teachers would have been like, no, you can't do that. No, you can't
Right.
do something else. It's like, come on, man. Do
Right.
something that really, if you want to inspire people to greatness, you've got to let them kind of pick what that greatness is going to be, I think, you know.
As much as you're talking about Patton there earlier, he did have that one quote, which I do like. Don't tell a man how to do something. Tell him what you want to see accomplished and let him surprise you with the results. And
Yeah,
that's one
and
thing that,
yeah, and in the military, we call that commander's intent. That's literally, that is what he said right there is basically, it's not exactly, but if you looked in a military manual what commander's intent is, it's what you want the end state to be. It's not how you want them to get there, it's what you want completed at the end of the day, or at the end of the
right.
mission, or at the end of the tour of duty, or whatever it might be. So yeah, I agree with that 100%. You inspire people to greatness by letting them be part of that planning, how to execute that mission, not giving them if you want to micromanage, you can get the job done, but it's not going to be as good as if you said, I'm going to give you this mission. I'm going to give you my guidance. I'm going to give you my commander's intent, and then I'm going to step back and I'm going to supervise. And supervising is different than micromanaging. Supervising is what a
Right.
leader does. Managing is what somebody does that's not sure of themselves. They
Mm-hmm.
don't they're not sure enough of their people and themselves to trust them to do, just, you guys go do the job. Now I got to be involved with this. That's what supervision is.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a difficult time with that. I know, like having staff on, I will say the patent thing. I'll say, look, I'm not going to tell you how to do something. I'll let you know what I'd like to see accomplished. You can surprise me with the results. Make sure it's legal. Make sure it's ethical. Don't surprise me in ways that aren't legal and ethical when you get to the results,
yeah,
right? I'm not leaving you out in the wind. You're here to. You've got support. Ask for it. I don't want to micromanage you. Some people thrive. Other people, they don't know what to do in a situation like that, and they start falling apart. And it took me a while to realize we have to find a different place for those people,
yeah.
and
Well,
just
either
bring
that
it
or you mentor them up and you work with them and inspire them, just like he did with that kid. You find
Mm,
what they're good at and you put them, like you said, you're going to find another spot. That doesn't mean that we hide them away, but put them in a spot where their greatness can be brought,
right.
it can
That's
be
right.
ripened and brought right to the surface. So,
Yeah.
no, that's good.
Well, if people want to get this book, I got mine on Amazon. I think they can get signed copies right from your website, can they?
Yeah, and so just so you know, the copies
Yeah.
are slightly different. So this
Okay.
copy, I'm going to try to, I don't know if you can see it, but there's a
Uh-huh.
there's a raised, this dagger
Oh, mine's not raised.
is raised and so is the cross.
Yeah, no, mine's not raised. So you're
Yeah.
telling me I got
So
to buy another
this
one.
one is printed by Trample and the Hurdle Publishing. That's us. And these are available from the Viking Tactics website. If you put a note that you want me to sign it, or if you want it personalized to somebody, you can do that, and I'll do that. If you want to get it fast and not pay shipping, then go to Amazon, because it's actually going to save you some money if you go to Amazon. But then I can't sign them.
Hmm.
One thing I do want to explain: it costs $27.17. If you look in the
Okay.
Bible, that verse is iron sharpens iron.
Uh, clever.
So
Very clever.
yeah, I really appreciate you talking about this book. This is the hardest project I've ever done as far as writing. I thought Leadership in the Shadows was tough, but this was even tougher. And man, this took a long time to write this daggum book. We actually left the redactions in there too. I thought
I
you'd get a
saw
kick out
that.
of that.
I
Yeah.
saw that. That's kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah,
That's
so the last book I wrote, there was just a couple, and we took it completely out. This one we left the redaction in there so people know that I said something that's classified behind that black mark, and
yeah. I thought that was a
there's no secret ink or anything that they can wet it in to see what I said. But it's so stupid, the stuff they redacted, but we did exactly what they said. And the other thing we did, if you look inside of the front cover of the book, it says No AI was used to write this book. And then the next mission was approved for print by the unit February 12th, 2026.
Mm,
So just so people know that if anybody wants to say, oh, you gave away all the secrets, it's like, there's no secrets in this book. And by the
yeah,
way, the unit approved it, and there you go. So
I love it.
I started doing this. I want to show you this because it's kind of crazy. So these are just a pair of sunglasses, loophole
Yeah.
sunglasses. These are kind of beat up, but they're laying on my desk here. So what I did was I added the stickies inside. Can you see those?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So those are just, you wet them and you put them where you want them, and then you can have regular sunglasses. But if you look down, then you're looking through
Now you
your.
can read.
Now I can read, if I'm. And what I like them for is when I'm out on the range shooting and I want to look at my timer, I can see it
Okay.
clearly. If I want to look at a screw, I can see it clearly. And then if I'm fishing, I can tie on
Right.
without taking my glasses off and putting on a set of reading glasses or whatever.
That's
So
clever.
yeah,
Do you
they
need them for
work.
your front sight?
I use mostly a red dot nowadays, but
Mostly red dot.
my front sight is a little bit fuzzy now, but not so bad that I can't still shoot a regular iron sights. But I shoot a red dot mostly. With the red
Okay.
dot, you're looking at the target anyway, so it works really good. But yeah, it's something worth trying. My wife, these here are set up a little bit high, but now the last ones I did, I had them put them really low, and they're
Mm.
just right. So if I'm driving my truck and I look down at anything, it's clear. But if I look up, I don't have anything. It works really well.
Well, he had a exploration vessel from Norway come on over, and they contacted us, and they said, "Well, we have some rifles we want you to work on them for us, and make sure they're good because we're going up to the Arctic, and we need them for bear defense and the rest." I'm like, I don't want to do it. Right? I'm busy. I got all these other things, and they said, "Okay, yeah, sounds good." I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll do it then. So, anyways, I'm doing the work, and part of it, making sure sighting them in, and they look good. They had iron sights on it, and I'm like, "What's going on? Like, what's wrong with these sights? Why am I having a
Yeah,
hard time?"
yeah,
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 what's wrong with the sights? Yeah, that was me.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I
I
got
went
myself
in
some.
a couple months ago because I've felt like my distance vision was suffering a little bit when I was shooting NRL Hunter. I'm like, I should be
Mm,
able to see that clearer at distance without looking through my binos or anything. So I went in and they measured my eyes and they said that I was 20/20. And I
sure,
said, well,
should be better.
I used to be way better than what I am right now. So they're like, okay, well, if you want to go back to what you were, we can do that. So they put
Mm,
me at 2013 with with um, prescription. So I actually took a set of. I do a lot of work with Leupold, so I took
yeah,
a set of Leupold glasses and I gave them to the lady here in Nashville, and she popped the lenses out and she put her lenses in there, and then my wife put the stickies in there, and I'm set up now. So, and I really like them, so now I'm going to have them make me a set of sunglasses the same way, so that
oh,
I can
that's
see
smart.
really good at distance, and then up close, I'm just using these stickies that are inside there, and I put them on the inside, not on the outside, because on the inside, then they
Right,
don't create a glare.
and no one can tell what you're doing and the rest. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and I
they
don't
look
care if people.
cool.
Yeah, I don't care if people know, but if you put them on the outside, they catch a glare when the sun hits the top of them. If you put them on the
Okay.
inside, you don't get a glare. So you don't even you don't even notice them. I mean, unless I do like some super stupid shooting position under a vehicle or something laid really weird with my gun turned, or then I
Yeah.
might notice it, but usually I don't notice them at all. So I like them, and they're like $12 or something on Amazon.
I don't know if you can see all the paperwork on my desk here. I didn't even get into a fraction of all the different things that I put together, but I thoroughly enjoyed this
Well,
conversation.
you let me know if you ever want, if you just call me up. I really enjoy talking with you. So if I can ever, if you want to continue the conversation, you let me know. Uh, I appreciate you reaching out to me. I was super excited when you said, "Hey, I got the book. You got to come on the podcast." And I'm like, "All right, this is awesome," because a lot of people been giving us a hard time about, when's it coming, when's it coming, when's it coming, and now we put it out
Mm.
and we're getting a bunch of orders, so it's really good.
Well, and likewise, right back at you. And the number of people who've reached out to me and who've said that they found great value in the last podcast that we did together, as well as the year-end reflection. So that. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. It's an honor to be on here with you. I appreciate it.